us. And hey, you just went live, Peter.
Yeah, I just realized it's showtime. Welcome to the Dynasty Grind. This is DLF live stream show. I guess that's what we'll call it. Questions in the comments. Hey, hi Zach. How you doing?
Fantastic, Peter. How are you tonight?
Dynasty Outhouse is late once, and this show just falls flat in its face. It's like, what's going on? I was busy trying to update my ranks, and we were talking about ranks from last year, and then suddenly we're live.
Definitely some correlation where, like, last week, you were late, the show went off without a hitch, it was fine, Smooth. Outhouse is a professional, but Outhouse is not here, and all of a sudden the walls fall down, the roof caves in on us.
Correlation isn't causation. I'm just saying. Yeah, what up, everyone? Dynasty Grind. Time for us to talk more about what everyone's going to be talking about on Twitter next week without ever mentioning us.
Yeah.
We get you advance notice. It's just that it's just 30 or 40 people who show up to talk about it. That's the only people who find out. I was actually, after your thread you were on talking about the stuff we've been talking about for like weeks, I was trying to clip our shows so we could start, sharing. Instead of having to share a 3-hour live stream or whatever it is, we could start sharing the relevant parts. And I actually managed to lock myself out of all my Google accounts because I got down a rabbit hole of which email was attached to which thing. And I tried to fix it, and it screwed the whole lot up.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, I don't exist right now, according to the internet. Questions. Philip asks, what are your thoughts on Sky Moore? Zach, do you want to lead the charge there on the greatest prospect since Corey Davis?
That's about right. Moore is very sudden. He's very quick, especially on hitch routes. He creates good separation where he'll run up, get the corner moving, plant, and come back to the quarterback very quickly. He's got good hands. Nearly always catches the ball away from his body, something we look for because if you're catching the ball away from your body, you can catch it and cushion it and bring it in. Whereas if the ball's traveling in on you, it has a chance to hit your pads and bounce off. And also defenders have a chance to get their hands in. I think he's pretty good in traffic, which again, being a hands catcher, that helps him in traffic. He creates really good separation, yards after catch on slants. He struggled to me against press and man coverage, especially against higher competition. When I watched him play against Michigan, I watched him play against Pitt. His cuts look fast. His feet move fast, but sometimes he doesn't go anywhere. And that, to me, I fall back on my basketball background. As a point guard, you want to make your cuts not only be quick, but you also want to drive at a defender to make him adjust vertically and then also cut back the other way. So he's having to adjust to you in two different directions. Moore sometimes doesn't do that. He gets quick, but doesn't make it go anywhere. I think corners actually close in on him very fast after he wins initially. And he feels small to me and not quite as fast as he needs to be at the next level. So I like him, but I'm not in love with Sky Moore.
Yeah, that's about my thoughts. No, he's got 2 years where he played more than 6 games. I think he played 5 games that last year. I recently just wrote him up for DLF, so I dug into him a little bit harder. I guess I'll just read what my end conclusion was on that. The reason I can't compare Moore directly to Hunter Renfrow and Tyler Boyd is essentially because Tyler Boyd blew away the competition as a very talented NFL slot receiver playing in a lower conference in college, whereas Sky Moore didn't blow them away. He just did exceptionally well for a regular wide receiver. You would expect a little bit more if he was an exceptional NFL talent playing where he was, but he did do better than most do, adjusted for his team's level of volume in both his first and his third year. And that third year is actually pretty significantly above the average, 3.2, I think, yards per team pass attempt. So that's team volume adjusted production. And that's a significant note. But the other players I can compare him to, like Hunter Renfrow, like I mentioned, Hunter Renfrow didn't show up because he was playing with very good NFL basically X and outside receivers, and so you just don't get a lot of looks as a smaller guy and barely co-opted any of the receiving production. So my best NFL comps for him statistically do not compare to him well in college. I think Sky Moore plays that kind of role in the NFL. He played really well at it at a team that hasn't produced a lot of NFL level caliber wide receivers. He slots in for me. Where did I put him eventually? And I'm mostly on that, not because the stats clearly say it, because again, his stats are good. The 2 years where he played over 5 years, that 3.2 receiving yards per team pass attempt last year is really good. It's more just taken in broader context of stuff that Zach just said and others. I've actually slotted him in as a wide receiver 8. I've put him in, I think it's tier 3, which are a lot of tier 3 players in this year's class. Yeah, he's at the bottom of tier 3. So he's got really interesting production. If he lands in the right spot in the NFL and gets decent draft capital, I think he could definitely do something for us in fantasy. Not that he or the teams care about that, obviously. But yeah, I think he played well enough. You could see him transfer into the NFL well, is essentially my comp. But the upside might not be there. And it's not because of his size, whatever that's going to be. It's not Tyler Boyd and Hunter Renfrow small guys, because I liked Elijah Moore and still do. And he fits into that physical description a little bit more as well. It's not that, it's just where he played, the manner in which he played it. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts on Sky Moore. Where do you think, is there anywhere in the NFL he could go that would make you really interested in him? Because that's one of the things I had to do for the DLF article, like list interesting landing spots. And I was like, I don't know, man. Somewhere they don't already have Tyler Boyd, but desperately need someone to take up volume.
Well, and that's exactly it. He's going to be a slot receiver, and in order to be viable for fantasy or interesting for fantasy, he's going to have to drive targets, which is a tough thing, especially now. And we've talked about this, but especially now where the NFL is sliding their traditional, better your more traditional X type receivers into the slot more. It becomes harder for traditional slot receivers to drive volume because the NFL is using their outside players inside to gain leverage, to gain mismatches, to gain matchup advantages, to get them matched up in the middle against zones sometimes and that sort of thing. So, the cliche answer is the Patriots. I mean, their wide receiving core is so bad, and Mac Jones is so good at doing exactly what Sky Moore does well that would be a good fit. But it sounds cliche.
I think he'll have some catching up to do, but I think he could do slightly better than Jacoby Myers at a guess. Yeah, he could definitely take a role there. But the Patriots is, like I say, it's kind of a crappy place to mention. Everyone, anyway. Scott McCoy. By the way, Dynasty House is planning to come in today, but he's busy right now, so we'll have to see if he finds time. Scott McCoy, drafting my first Superflex team as we speak. Can you give me some pointers where I should grab my first quarterback? How's the draft going? Would be my first question. But essentially, the way I approach it is I ignore the first tier. I just accept I am not going to have Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, and so on and so forth. Unless I'm really early in the first round and I can't trade down, I'm not probably going to get those guys. If one of them drops to the second or third round, I'm going to really strongly consider taking a Lamar Jackson, a Dak Prescott, a Kyler Murray, any of those guys, Justin Herbert, if they fall a little bit. But generally, my assumption going is again, I miss out on the first tier and I'm going to overdraft the second tier. I want 3 quarterbacks that are starting. If I'm not getting one of those top 5, I need to be able to game script them anyway. And so instead of giving up those first 5 rounds of players, instead I'm probably going to draft the Kirk Cousins of the world a couple of rounds earlier so I can get 2 or 3 of them. That's my general idea, but it really depends how the draft flows for me.
I like that, Peter. Quarterback has become a little bit like tight end for me, where there's a clear tier at the top, and you mentioned Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert. You had Dak Prescott in there. I think the consensus is going to be he's going to fall a little bit in the next DLF.
Joe Burrow isn't in that tier. That's the only great expectation. That's the only one I think that would be different for me. That would be. Yeah,
and I have Lamar Jackson up toward that tier just because of the of the value he can give you with his legs, the amount of points he can give you with that rushing. And so, Scott, if you're in the top half of the draft, I mean, taking one of those difference-making quarterbacks in the first round, I don't have an issue with. If you're not in the top 5 or 6, or if those 5 or 6 quarterbacks that we just mentioned are not there, I'm with Peter. I would wait, because I think that you can end up being okay. You're going to gain positional advantages at other places where, if those guys are gone, you're looking at Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, somebody like that is a difference maker at another position. And then, you're not going to lose too much ground on everybody who didn't take a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, for me, it's just easier to say goodbye to my favorite deeper value prospects and grab 3 or 4 quarterbacks instead of trying to pass on the players that I genuinely think are top tier. Like, I'd rather get those running backs and wide receivers and give up some of my second, third favorite wide receivers.
And there's a kind of a safety net with quarterback, because if they're starting, they're going to score points for you, if they're a starting quarterback. So those second tier quarterbacks that people aren't as excited about are still safe.
There are different ways of approaching it. I was just podcasting with John Hogue yesterday, and his way is basically to not stop drafting quarterbacks. Like, just don't. And if they're all falling, then yeah, honestly, that's a way. But I have also talked to people that say that in their league, quarterback just is not valued. Yeah. And so taking all of them has a negative effect, if you know what I mean. Like, no one will trade with you for them. So you got to read your league and your draft a bit.
Sneaky too, Scott, if 2022 picks are in your draft, the 2022 101 is falling somewhere between the 4th and 5th round. If you can snap that up, all of a sudden Malik Willis gets drafted in the top 12 picks to a team that's going to have him play quarterback, and you basically just picked up Jalen Hurts, in the 4th or 5th round.
Maybe
where that 101 is. No, I think they're very similar. Maybe. I really do.
Okay. And also follow the Superflex show. It's a podcast that DLF does with John Hogue, and they talk just quarterbacks and Superflex stuff. So that'll be a good rec as well. Nicholas J, if you have Connor in a rebuild, Connor who? Connor
James. We're back to James Conner again.
Rebuild. Should I wait for him to sign somewhere, then trade him? Dude, if James Conner has value at any point, trade him. If not, then hope he can score some points. Like, James Conner should not be filling this much space in your brain that you have continuous questions over 2 weeks. Like,
I don't think you can get Claypool straight up for him right now. If you can't do that,
not even
1,000% do that.
I mean, if you can, yeah. If you can get a first for him, do that. I just don't. I don't expect it. Cheers for another week, guys. No problem, Don. Pretty appreciate you coming in. Cody Hutchinson, he's given his own advice. I think I'm allowed to skip that, someone said. Daniel McGrath, have you guys ever heard of having conditions being placed on draft picks in trades in the NFL?
So I have, but I've also heard of it not working very well because it's hard to track for your commissioner, but it's also hard to ensure that a team. So you have a conditional pick, and if a team does well, you get a better pick. Well, all of a sudden your team starts not doing well, and so you just tank. So you don't have to get there are a whole bunch of weird caveats and strings that come attached to that. And I personally would it's one step too far for me. If your league can figure that out, go for it. But I would have everything in writing in the bylaws.
And money collected before the season, and who's your commissioner? If it's John Bosch, I don't have many questions. Yeah, that guy will keep track of it, and he will enforce it, and it'll be fine. So you got to read that a little bit. But honestly, it just feels like you're making it way too complicated for yourselves. But I'm a guy who likes vanilla leagues, so consider the source. Don, one quarterback tight end premium. He traded Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Adams, and Naheem Hines for Najee Harris, Pittman, Fields, 109, and a 23 first. Didn't look like it was contending this year. Thoughts? Yeah, I like it.
I don't mind it. You might have been able to get a little bit more. Well, I guess you got Harris. So
I would trade. I'd be trading Pittman and Fields again. Like that would be my idea because losing Devontae Adams sucks. But I get it. You've got the draft capital along with it. Yeah, it's fine. Basically, Pittman and Fields read kind of as throw-ins to me, but it's fine. That's good too.
Yeah.
Harrison, opinions on Watson. Buy, sell, they. Listen, I'm just reading the same Twitter threads you are from Davenport. Check him out. He's on the ball. He's fair, and he tells you the things that we can know. Feeling like Watson's going to play, in which case he's a buy right now, just purely talking about dynasty value because he can put up numbers and also he's kind of free, even in best balls right now. So, yeah, probably just speaking purely dynasty. He's more of a buy than anything for me. But I'm reading I'm going off the same information you have. I'm not saying I know he's going to play again. I have no idea. But at this point, it looks likely.
It's a hold your nose buy. That's
the thing. People continue to talk about Calvin Ridley like it's when will he come back, which just elongates this great window where you can trade him as if he's coming back. And I will gladly pay a tax for waiting to see if he decides to come back because it's Calvin Ridley. Right. Watson looks more than likely, I think, at this point to play again at some point. Although Dynasty Outhouse, when he's around, likes to be a little more nervous about it, to be fair. So, again, opinions vary. The value makes sense.
Well, and again, the fact that it's a civil case, not a case that would end him in jail. Like, there are a whole bunch of, like, factors.
There's always...
But, yeah, he's probably a buy, depending on your risk tolerance.
And, at this point, the risk tolerance isn't even a big... Because, I mean, he wants to come back to the NFL and is capable of it when this clears up. This isn't an injury. It's not a retirement, which is why I was bringing up Calvin Ridley. It's a different kind of situation. There is always, and that's what Outhouse likes to bring up, you've got the NFL commissioner hammer, where it can just be no. And that's, I think at this point, that's the greater risk. Randy Wyatt going to a 14-team Superflex follow-up to last week. Only Brady as a quarterback, traded Donovan Peoples-Jones. I mean, good job, man. Finding someone to give you value for Donovan Peoples-Jones works. And Taysom Hill. I mean, you ride him, Matt Ryan. I love it.
Yeah. Hill's coming off a Liz Frank injury, too. So, like, big time.
AJ Dillon and Mike Williams for Zach Wilson. Ooh, I kind of hate that one, but I get it. And a random third. You did good. I would say you did good, Randy. I'm not in on Zach Wilson, but I don't mind trading Dillon and Williams for him in a Superflex. That makes perfect sense to me. I think you did good. Real good. Go even further. Thoughts on Abram Smith? I think he's one of the most fun things to talk about this year. No, Zach, you were literally just talking to all your big popular fantasy friends about this. So why don't you lead the chat?
No, it's funny. I was just watching Abram Smith, and I was in a DM with J Mike and Matt Foreman, and Foreman was like, I can't find any film on Abram Smith before 2021, and I was like, well, that's because he had 46 carries in his first 2 years, then played linebacker. Had more tackles than he did carries in his first 2 years, and then had 1,600 yards as a senior running back.
Just dropped a casual 1,600 before he left.
He's interesting. He's not a player that I'm going to be in on because he is a negative in the passing game. He just is not a pass catcher. He fights everything to do with passing, including pass protection. But he is a good inside runner. He is very powerful. He breaks a lot of tackles. If teams can get him a gap to run through, he's pretty good, and he does pick up speed okay. My initial thoughts on him were he was glacially slow, but the more I watched, I saw a couple times where they open up a hole, and if he gets 10 or 15 yards as a runway to get going, he can actually rip off 25 or 30-yard runs. But again, he's not a player that I am going to be particularly interested in. He initiates too much contact for me, and he's like I said, he's a non-factor in the passing game. He caught 14 balls over his illustrious running back career, 13 of them this past year where he actually played. And a lot of the yardage that he gains is run into a defender, continue to leg churn, and push that pile and gain extra yards. So
because he's so thick and good.
Yeah, like he's not bad, but he's not going to be. He's going to be the 1B of a committee if he ever gets to the point where he's carrying the load. So you're high end. You're hoping that he's, I guess, James Conner. Russ.
Hey.
Finally, our illustrious leader gets back. Could you take back over? Amon-Ra and Pittman for DJ Moore. It's DJ Moore, Tyler. Pretty easy for me. Russ, how you doing?
Pittman.
Well, you can go. You can leave again. That's fine.
Bye. No,
why would you take Amon-Ra and Pittman for DJ Moore? Come on.
Because I
love Amon-Ra, but
any given week, it's insanely realistic that either of them score as much as DJ Moore did.
That's fair. I just had a DJ Moore Higgins argument on Facebook. I don't know. Don't ask why I was on Facebook, but I got suckered into a dynasty argument, and then there was a trade, and it had Higgins on one side and DJ Moore and McLaurin on the other side. And they were arguing that both McLaurin and DJ Moore had more upside than Higgins. I'm like, guys, Higgins just outscored both of them in 2 fewer games.
It's Terry McLaurin, the new Cortland Sutton. He had that one great year that we didn't really expect, and now
McLaurin did have more than one. And no. Okay, because
last year was pretty good.
Well, even his rookie year was very good.
That's the one I was thinking of. I thought his rookie year was good. Last year I was slightly disappointed.
19 and 20 were good. 21 was bad. And also, let's make excuses for him. His quarterback play was trash, and he still did decently his first 2 years. So I'm willing to let it go for last year. So I've settled on the fact that McLaurin, no matter how good he is, he's not going to be ever thought of as a top 12 wide receiver. Most likely never score as a top 12 wide receiver.
That's where I'm at, yeah.
But I think he's an insanely solid 2. And that absolutely has a place.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
But so I don't think he's Sutton, because I love Sutton, but in my wide receiver bias, where I like gigantic men catching footballs, he's not great. I think Terry McLaurin is kind of great, but for the reason Zach loves wide receivers, that's pretty important. Zach likes wide receivers because they're very good at what they do at playing football. I like wide receivers because they're gigantic men who manhandle people.
See, the reason I like DJ Moore here is you've got the same value rolled into one thing, and I like that this time of year. I'm not scoring points for 3 months.
It's an insanely fair trade. I think the value-wise, this is great. This is perfect. This is exactly what it should be. But I do think I take the 2 side just because I don't see DJ Moore's value going up. Again.
I don't see Pittman's or Amon-Ra's going up. It's the thing. I think Amon-Ra should. That's the thing. I forget everyone. DLF's trade calculator has him rated as the same as the 203 right now. Buy all day for that. That's the thing. I don't need to spend DJ Moore to get Amon-Ra. I get 203. Yay. I just have DJ Moore and Amon-Ra. That sounds better.
It boils down to
change when February comes around.
Peter hates Pittman. He's got deep-seated Pittman hatred.
Oh, I'm just ignoring. I'm just completely blanking the Pittman.
He hasn't even mentioned
it's because of Zach Pascal.
I've already crossed it out the trade. I'm like, that's not a thing. Tyler Reeves, would you feel comfortable getting into the year with Javonte Williams, JK? Javonte Williams joke? Okay, well, who do you actually mean?
J.K.
Dobbins.
Dobbins.
Oh, sorry, I was like JK. I was thinking of it
Just
like an
kidding.
acronym for joke. Yeah, sorry. Javonte Williams, JK, Michael Carter. I mean, yeah.
I would be fine with that.
So-
Well, also it depends how many running backs do you have to start. If you have to start 2, yell. at your commissioner that they should change it.
Forget it. He's asking if you should reach on a running back because of his running backs. No, you don't draft based on who's on your team. That's easier. Just don't.
And the other
There's no
thing is it may not be a reach to take a running back at 103. Like that's
No,
not
it won't be. It won't be at all.
There's a good chance it's quarterback or quarterback Burks. So I mean,
So you
Yeah,
might
might
be
have your
right there
choice.
with your choice of Hall or Spiller and
Yeah, there's
be
so much
happy
in
about
this
it.
question. Like, don't draft for need. Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Sorry, Russ. Also, the 103 is not a reach. Even in a Superflex for a running back this year, you might get the running back one. The 103.
I will say if
That's
Hall
fine.
does go 102, I don't think I'd spend the 103 on Spiller.
You wouldn't?
But again, it depends on where he lands. If
Yeah.
Spiller ends up in Miami and Miami says, "Yeah, we're going to make Spiller our running back," then I'm spending the 103 on him. Like that's
All right, then it's
that's
probably
perfectly
102.
acceptable. But
Yeah,
again,
that's super
there's-
fair.
there's so much context that we don't have right now. We can tell you what we think of these players, but we don't have the most important piece, which is what the NFL thinks about those players, and then what the specific team that drafts the player thinks about those players. We don't have that yet. We'll get that at the end of April.
Yeah.
Randy, now I have Brady, Ryan, and Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, Swift, Chase, Elijah Moore, Kyle Pitts, no first till 2025. Good job. Any other trades you would try to get out with no first? Yeah, no, your team looks good. It's young. It's got value. Honestly, hopefully you've got other depth on here. I'll be shopping for 2nd and 3rd round picks whenever the opportunity comes about.
I do.
So here's
Swift.
what I would do with that team right now is I would go look at what I've got for later round picks, and I would try to acquire Marcus Mariota, and I would try to acquire Trubisky, because I think that one of those two guys will be playing quarterback somewhere this year at some point. And
I'm ready for that Mariota comeback. I'm glad
Yeah,
that he said
but
that. I'm waiting.
Here with you, baby.
But if you do that on this team where people aren't thinking about those guys right now, I mean, we're so far away from having to think about the backup quarterbacks that could end up being starters next year. You know, we haven't got to the draft where all of the NFL teams look at all the quarterbacks in the draft and go, you know, one team takes Malik Willis high and then everybody else just kind of turns their nose up. We haven't got to that point yet. It could happen. Like, that could be a thing. This quarterback class is suspect at best. Like, there are a lot of warts. There are a lot of maybes. And so that's something that
they just suck. Okay.
Yeah, but that's
We're just
something
gonna
that
start saying
I'm
it.
interested in doing. I mean, you've seen Tyrod Taylor be viable a couple of times over the past couple of years. You've seen him, like, these are things that happen. So that is one thing that I think you can do with a team that you're not going to hurt yourself too bad if you're throwing, you know, a 3rd round pick at one of those guys. You'll be fine. I actually did that for Tyler Huntley in one of my leagues, where if Lamar Jackson gets injured, all of a sudden I have Tyler Huntley, who's very good, and on a team where my best starting quarterback was Roethlisberger last year. So, you know, that's a way to approach that is not going to hurt your team, but it gives you a chance at big return if those guys play.
Is Deontay Harris still worth a pickup? I mean, if he's on the waiver wire, I'm free, sure, but it's about who you're going to drop. I'm not particularly targeting him or anything, but yeah, he can be rostered. Sure. Maybe.
And if your league has return yardage points, he could be worth it. He
Definitely.
always scored pretty decently in trade addicts leagues.
Peter's throwing stuff.
I didn't
again.
think that was that hot of a take that you had to like throw things.
I dropped things. That's how shocked I was. I don't think Brady's actually retired either. Yeah, he is. I mean, that's fine, but I'm not going to play.
I mean,
game.
I still have Andrew Luck on one of my teams just in case.
Oh yeah, to be fair, I got Andrew Luck. No, I think I dropped him last year. This is painful.
Nope, still have him.
Well, you're better man than me.
Damn
And my
straight.
QBs are Mac Jones and Burrow and Superflex. So the 103, would you try to take a QB? I wouldn't try and take a position. I'd take the best player available. That's what I would do. If you need to have something else, or you want to try and make a play for something else, trade
the 103. Trade the 103 for something.
Yeah.
Daniel McGrath. Example was Ridley for a 2021st on the condition he plays 10 games in an upcoming year. If he doesn't, he drops to a second. I mean, yeah, Russ, we got a question about conditional trades. My general take was it seems to be making it more complicated for yourself.
If I'm not the commissioner, it's amazing. I do not want to track that shit. But it is, I've done it in one or two leagues, and it can get out of hand, but it's a lot of fun to negotiate. It really is. But I would not want to be the one responsible for tracking it all.
All right. I need to give you an option to put the comments somewhere else, because I feel like I'm constantly just cutting Russ's nose off.
It is absolutely okay.
The Andy B, why not? Superflex tight end premium. Do I trade Claypool for the 202 for Tony? No.
Tony 209, Brevin, and Trubisky. No, I feel like you're giving up most of the best assets on that one. Though I do love me some Brevin Jordan.
Brevin Jordan's interesting. He shouldn't.
I actually don't mind. I don't mind that as much as you guys do, because again, I don't love Kadarius Toney, but he flashed enough, and there's a new coaching staff coming in that, in theory, has to be a little bit more creative than what the Giants had.
Yes,
I don't necessarily love the way Claypool needs to get the ball. You know, he needs to be thrown open. He needs that, which is why he struggled with Roethlisberger. But there's no guarantee that a quarterback coming in is going to be that type of quarterback. The 202 to 209, I don't think that getting Brevin Jordan and Trubisky is a bad haul for losing 7 spots. So I don't mind that.
I don't mind that trading for upside idea, but he's asking for the second to boot. It's like, you don't get to value him force if you're sending me your trash that you think's going to crash. Like, you don't get an extra second, okay? You just don't. That's where I would feel about it. Like, you're trying to offload a whole bunch of things we think are going to crash and burn. Don't have to make sure you get your full value back. Like, I'm keeping my second, especially the 202 this year.
Well, and if you're worried about just getting the tight end, the 209, there's going to be a tight end in this class available. It's not going to help you this year, but you may end up with Trey McBride. You may end up with Isaiah Likely. It may be Jalen Weidemeyer. Like, there are a few decent tight ends in this class who, again, tight ends take a while. They don't often pan out, but there are 3 that have potential in this class.
Yeah,
the DLF trade analyzer. The DLF trade analyzer has Claypool worth almost 3 Kadarius Tonys.
Yeah. Ooh. For me, it's just about that trade balance in general. Like, you don't get my 202 while you're offloading a bunch of shit. Stop it. Go away. Either watch them die on your roster, or I will take the risk, and you get Claypool, all that value rolled into one, and maybe he does something too. Fine, but I'm not giving you the 202 just because you drafted a bunch of terrible players.
Yeah, I feel like if you just took the 2 seconds out of it, it would be a better trade.
Yeah. Or keep his second in there. Fuck it. I'll take your low second round pick. It's not worth much. And you're just
I will gladly take whatever picks people don't want.
Would you do it? Would you do it if you could swap your 302 instead of the 202? So you have the 302 in Claypool.
Fine, but these are players you put on your trade bait because no one wants them and you don't want them, and he's trying to get rid of his junk drawer for something of value, which is fine. But don't ask for my second while you're doing that.
Yeah,
like what the fuck? I don't have to clean up your bad drafting habits. Go away. Feeling a little spicy about it. El Jandoro.
Alejandro?
I think you said it right, probably.
You did not. Let's just keep it at that.
Hey, man, I just made a name up. Screw you. I'm creative. Don't spoil my creative juices. Juices. In a 12-team Superflex PPR, where you can start up to 7 wide receivers, would you consider trading Jefferson for several wide receivers and picks? Or, I mean, one of the wide receivers and the picks, but sure, I consider it.
Well, and here's
the answer is no.
English, though, with you can start up to 7. You don't have to start up to 7. So, don't worry about starting 7 wide receivers if it's a can. If they're a bunch of flexes, figure out your best players. Jefferson is going to be one of them. Like, I don't know, and unless you're really hurting, I'm hanging on to Jefferson.
Yeah, that's fair. You're not trading him just to trade him. I need an astonishingly good trade to get rid of Jefferson. It's
still a 12-team league, I think he said, right? So depth isn't the most important thing in the world. So, man, it would have to be very, very good group of wide receivers and picks to make me do it. Like, I'm not doing it for reasons that have to do with league setting or starting lineups.
That's fair. But why am I the odd man out, man? Like, why am I the one disagreeing on everything today? Like, it's okay. You guys cannot make me feel like a loser sometimes. Just saying that. But, no, my mind went to, is it good to trade a player at peak value? And it is, but it's about the trade, not...
I don't know. I listened to your podcast where it's like, it's really good to trade a player at the top of value, but it's not. But it is. But it's not. But it is. But it's not.
It's game theory. It depends on where your team is at, and it depends on what you're looking to do with your team. If you're looking to score, it's probably not. If you're looking for value, it definitely is. So, it's nuance. It's this entire conversation I've been having all day, where Twitter and the world, but if we're doing fantasy football, it has been, it's binary. It's either 1 or 0, and there's a camp on one side and a camp on the other, and they're just yelling at each other. And I'm sitting there going, no, this is not binary. Like, there are other numbers in here. There is nuance. And in order to give you the right answer, we need to speak to that nuance. It can't just be yes or no. Like, there are times when it's good to trade Jefferson. There are times when you shouldn't. And so...
No, Russ just wanted to point out that I was wrong again. Just keep fine. It's fine. I'm wrong. Forget it. Seth, in a shallow Superflex league, start 8 plus defense and 6 bench. What is the best strategy for making most of the few bench spots?
Don't just get 8 really good starters and forget about your bench.
The stars and scrubs.
Most leagues don't worry about your depth nearly as much as we're inclined to. Yeah, I think so.
Well, and especially with the 6 bench, that means your waiver wire, like, mine the waiver wire in season, because your waiver wire is going to be rife with depth because you only have 6 bench and 8 starters. So it's not as, it's like Russ said, it's not as important to have your bench be great players to start with. If you can trade around in a startup, if you can trade around and make your 8 starters be studs, you ought to be able to get enough during the season off waivers to fill in your bench and be pretty happy about it.
I would keep running backs as most of my bench spots because it's easier to replace wide receiver production, and you don't want that handcuff on the waiver wire when that running back goes down. You want that on your bench. You want to have that guy on your team already.
Yeah, the flex spot's less important. So yeah, just stick with running back depth.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm a spam the world.
He's gonna spam the word Connor.
So as shows up. Ha ha ha. Totally kidding. I'm tired of him myself at this point. I don't know why he's running around your head so much. Like, I haven't thought about James Conner in a long time. Am I weird for not having Conner front and center in my dynasty life?
Every now and then I get him stuck in my head, but it's because I did the parody of Godzilla, and so I'm like, hey, James Conner, but that's totally different.
I'm really thirsty, and I realize I have control of the comments this episode, so I can't just leave like last time, and I hate it. Bo, thanks for your all. I turned 14 total 2022 picks into the 2023 first round. Cool. 423 seconds. Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, Claypool, Hollywood, and Palmer. I think that's a solid haul.
That was a win.
All right, well, take down the
People are
comments
crazy,
and
huh?
just go grab a drink, and I'll just read them. Go. Okay, well, Weaves wanted to post my trade from last week. Was JT?
What did I do to him
Kittle.
this week?
You said you wanted to get a drink. I was letting you go get a drink.
No,
I was doing you a favor.
Fine.
Why does he hate me so much? What did I ever do to him?
I don't know, but you look fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Weaves wanted to post my trade from last week. Was JT, Kittle, Pittman the 101 for Herbert, Pitts, DJ Moore. 10 team, 0.5 PPR, Superflex, tight end premium. Who cares about what his team was? Now a hero RB team with Swift and Scrubs. Thoughts? Okay, so JT, Kittle, Pittman, and the 101 for Herbert, Pitts, and Moore.
I still want the JT, Kittle, Pittman. I'm pretty sure. No, actually,
No,
you know what? I
I'm
don't
gonna
because I
take-
want Herbert. It's a super
Yeah,
flex.
that's really what it comes down to.
Yep.
I think Herbert and Pitts are both top 1 or 2 at their position. And I get JT is 1, Kittle's probably 3 or 4, Pittman is whatever, and the 101 in a 10 team is not that big of a deal. Just because quarterbacks are a little less rare and a little less valuable because of that. In which case, Malik Willis won't be as big of a deal.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm looking at a team where I think Swift is my hero RB, I might be trading Swift.
I'm all for trading Swift in general.
You say you are for it?
Yeah.
So because I like right now I'm seeing him go as the running back 2 or running back 3 overall. Yep. And while that is well within his range of outcomes, I think that the more likely is Swift is what he has been. And so that just makes me a little bit nervous about going into the third year of a player and expecting him to be something that he has never been. I just saw a tweet, and I wish I could tell you who it was because I'd give them credit, but they were talking about running backs who for the first couple of years were, RB2s, and how few go from being a consistent RB2 for the first couple of years to all of a sudden in their third or fourth year being a running back 1. And it just doesn't happen like that as much as we want it to. And I think that the community still values Swift there. So that may be a place where you can send Swift and get a little more depth, a little more breadth in your running backs, and be better off.
Yeah. Well, first of all, a few things about all of that. I have a feeling that, like you said before, running backs that did okay the first 2 or so years and then all of a sudden started doing well, probably situation had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Derrick Henry is the weirdest of all weirdest, where they felt like starting DeMarco Murray for 3 years.
But he wasn't an RB2 for you know what I mean? Like,
I guess that's fair.
That was the thing. Like, it's a difference between not starting and then starting and being a running back 1. But Swift has been the starter there for 2 years and has still been not quite what we expected, not quite what we wanted. And I think that's the trap that we fall into is we do this evaluation. And I like Swift too. And it's not a knock at Swift. I think he's a fantastic player, but for whatever reason, whether it's the way the team is using him or whether it's just some facet of his game, he hasn't been what we expected him to be. And I'd rather let someone else bet on, what they expect while I expand and make my running back depth a little better and make my team overall a little better, especially 10 team. If I can get I mean, you might
I
even
was
be
going to
able
say, like, give me Eckler and a first or Eckler and a second, even in
Yeah.
the build.
Yeah, and you're getting at least the production you were getting, plus you're getting a first. I love that. That's fantastic.
How about trading him for a young running back who has been a top 12
Yeah.
through his first 3 years and draft capital? Because that's what you can do with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. I don't mind
Josh
that
Jacobs
either.
is like 24 years old. He's been a top 12 running back, I think, twice. I'd have to check on that, but I think
Yes.
overall scoring, he's been a top 12 twice. Like,
I think he's been
and he's valued like half as much as Swift. Swift is Austin Eckler with draft capital and unable to co-op the same share of the load.
Mhm.
Like,
but also misses games every year.
yeah. Last year he didn't. If we're talking about Eckler.
No, Swift.
Okay, sorry, I didn't even know. I pay so little attention to Swift. I just kind of let everyone have him. Because Swift is one of those players I believed other people when they said he was just exceptionally talented when you saw him play at certain things, and then he got draft capital and he's been pretty decent. So I just kind of put him in the back of my mind. But focusing on him, actually, I've had a few questions about him over the last few weeks. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have that much of the team's expected points. He doesn't have a large EP share or anything. He hasn't yet finished in the top 12. Josh Jacobs has done it twice. He's only 24. And you can get Josh Jacobs plus what for Austin Eckler right now? If you would just want to stay in the same position, you don't even have to give up a running back who could be top 12 next year.
Yeah, see, Swift is insanely talented, but he's on a bad offense with a bad offensive line with kind of no quarterback at the moment, and who is going to bring in pass catchers where Swift was making most of his fantasy points through the passing game at this towards the end of the season anyway.
Man, when you put it all together like that, it's really concerning. We've got this bad class, or a class with less ceiling, harder to pick the right players in, as I think the real description. And then you've got Detroit and the Jets out there looking like there's some bad recipes that can be made this year with some of these draft picks. But anyway, sorry. Kind of came in and derailed that a little bit.
No, that was,
I think what
you
guys said was smart. I can't find where I was, though. I think
It was a trade with Herbert
Swift.
Pitts and DJ Moore. There you go, that one. Next one.
Nice. Daniel McGrath, you guys think... Hang on. This can't stand. I don't like this at all.
What did I do? Oh,
I'm trying to something like that. Everyone slide to the left. Everyone slide left. Okay. You guys think Godwin will be ready to roll week 1? I have him locked in as my wide receiver 2, but I don't think he's ready week 1. He's being undervalued, but he's the most rightly undervalued wide receiver I can think of. That ACL tear is going to slow him down. He's not going to have Tom Brady even if he stays on the same team, so it's going to be a lesser offense. And he's a guy who's relied on efficiency, which requires basically a good situation. So I kind of hate it. Sorry.
No,
Do you really want me to switch back that? Like, if you hate this, I kind of hate it, but like I like being able to see Russ. So
I don't like being able to see Russ, so you can go back to the other way.
Okay. Sorry, I tried. I'm not telling you.
I appreciate it.
What do you think of Godwin?
I love the player. I just think his situation right now kind of sucks. Getting hurt so late, being a free agent, and if he were to stay, there's no quarterback.
Yeah, I'm concerned, Daniel, about having him as your wide receiver 2 and relying on him, especially earlier in the season. I'm not as down on Godwin's prospects moving forward. I think he is a good enough receiver at what he does and is versatile enough as a wide receiver that he can mostly overcome quarterbacks. I mean, he did it with Cam Newton. Like, it's not like not Cam Newton, Jameis Winston. Sorry, and like it's Winston is a much.
It's very different.
A much bigger arm. And interesting. He's kind of a decaf quarterback. He was the made Mike Evans have the fact because he was not very accurate, but he liked to throw it. So Evans would have to go up and get it and not have any yards after the catch. It was fall after catch.
Fall after catch.
You saw, when he got quarterbacks that could actually be accurate, that he was much better than he was with Winston. But back to Godwin, I think Godwin will be fine. But I'm really concerned if you're counting on him as a wide receiver 2 to start your season. I'm worried. I'm worried about his season next year, just coming off that injury and getting back to, because it's not just getting healthy. It's getting healthy and then trusting your injury to have healed, and there's so much psychology that goes into coming back from an injury, and that's more what I worry about with Godwin than situation and quarterback and that sort of thing.
Damn it, Pen. What would you trade him for? That's the thing. Sometimes I throw out these ideas and then, like, the next question is logically, what do you trade him for? He's valued as a wide receiver 15 in ADP right now, which means he's undervalued. I literally did a video that listed him as undervalued. But that also just means that he's harder to trade in most leagues. Honestly, my first thought is, can I trade him for another guy who's falling a little older, so he's got some warts, but I'm less concerned with in terms of situation, a little situation agnostic? My first thought was Michael Thomas plus. Could you get that for Godwin right now?
Maybe
I would. Says so.
Well, but if you're trading off of Godwin because there's risk involved, it seems weird to trade him for someone
with risky.
That's a plus though. Like, you get another risky player who has top 12 upside, but you get something else.
I don't mind trading for, like, I guess it doesn't help Daniel because he's got Godwin. So what do you trade Godwin for? But I don't mind trading for God. If I'm looking at this rookie class. Basically anything. In a Superflex, I'm not trading the 101 for him. But other than that, I'll trade for Godwin because I think he's better than every single player in this class.
All right. So opposite. Got
it. So I pulled up the values in the trade analyzer.
Yeah.
Right below him is McLaurin and Devonta Smith. Okay. Elijah Moore. I'm just looking at wide receivers right now. So if I can get, Mike Evans. So if I can get any of them in a second, I'll do that.
I mean, I'd even take Devonta Smith probably pretty close to straight up, just because I think his ceiling is similar. I think you're buying back years. I think you're getting a player who is going to be playing at the beginning of the season. So those are all positives. I take that.
Yeah. Nicholas J, again, otherwise known as James Conner Truther. Zandre White, running back, South Carolina, was also a linebacker, I believe. Yeah, Zach mentioned that.
We mentioned that.
Show.
Yeah, he's another on my list. I got 2 linebackers that I need to watch for tomorrow night's episode.
Hey, we've caught up to the point in the chat where Out has turned up, just so you all know. Rolling on.
Only half an hour behind.
Traded Waller for Allen Robinson, 208, and Logan Thomas. Thought? Just the one. Have Pitts wanted to move on from Waller. I'd probably rather keep Waller.
Yeah, I'd rather have Waller there too. And to me, that's again, it's a trap that people fall into where I have Pitts, so I wanted to trade Waller. Have two great tight ends.
He got it.
Joe, that is fantastic.
You had 2 tight ends that you are more than okay to put one of them in the flex, but also you don't trade because you have, like Pete has been saying about everything, and I accidentally for some reason just called him Pete, and it was super weird.
That's weird.
Like, Peter has been saying whether you should or you shouldn't trade someone, it's still just about the trade at hand. That's not a great trade. Like, I love Allen Robinson. The 208 is a little low. Logan Thomas. He 30. Just hurt me so much last year that I hate him.
I feel similar.
You're trading Waller away because you don't need a tight end, but you got a tight end back. It was fine trading away Waller if you wanted to trade away Waller, but man, I would have loved all 3 of those pushed into one asset.
Yeah, I don't even mind buying low, as it said on Robinson. Like, Robinson as a throw-in is great, but it seems like the meat of that trade, and I don't understand that.
Yeah.
The meat. Piece of meat. Do you think Olave is better than Jameis? I was literally just talking about this. I've got a podcast coming out. Dave Wright from Tale of Two Rivals podcast. Turns out we've never actually spoken on a podcast before, so we rectified that. Weird, right? The two database dudes.
Yeah.
But I think Williams has the most
That's
upside
not
of
true.
anyone that came out of that situation.
I have video evidence that you've been on a podcast together. It was
I said that.
It was last year. It was a rookie draft last year. I have video evidence. It was on your
that's
show.
right. That's what I was trying to think of.
He said that got canceled, and I was like, I've never canceled a podcast.
No, I left
Zach
early.
canceled
Go
himself.
out. I was like, no, it definitely went out. But anyway, take it up with Dave, man.
That was the most cursing I've ever heard Zach do.
No, I didn't do it. It was in a DM. Right?
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, no, you don't get to hide that. You have emotions, and people are allowed to know that.
I wish I could remember this draft. Yeah, I think
Screw
Williams
that
has the
together.
most upside of anyone that played in Ohio over the last 3 years. I think Wilson's very easily the safest bet of any of them. I think Olave has the most concerns. But Olave could, I mean, he also has some of the most positive signal before the situation got really muddied. But the fact that he lost out of everyone in that situation, he was the one who ended up getting pushed down a little bit. That's more concerning than most of the concerns on the other profiles for me. So, yeah, that's where I'm about at. Dave had some disagreeing thoughts. Zach, Outhouse, got anything else?
I've got Williams above Olave, but it's close. I also think, again, we don't have all the information yet. When we see draft, if Jameson Williams goes in the first round after his injury, after what we saw at Alabama, then he's head and shoulders above Olave to me. If he doesn't, if he ends up going in the second or the third, then we have a conversation. But right now, I've got Williams a little bit ahead of Olave. Williams is going to be the player who could move the most for me because
that's what I was going to say. I actually have Williams the lowest ranked, but I think he has the highest upside.
He's such a tough evaluation for me, and it's similar. And maybe this is just Alabama, but it's similar to the way I viewed Jalen Waddle last year, where I liked a lot of what Waddle did, but he was a hard evaluation because they send him down the field so much, and he can do more, but he didn't. And so it's like, okay, what is the NFL going to view this player as? What are they going to pigeonhole him as? And when Miami took him needing a slot receiver, I was like, okay. So again, it's where does Williams go? What team does Williams go to? What does it look like they're going to use him as? And so he's the biggest mover. Olave is just kind of Olave to me. I mean, he's not moving very much. He kind of is his evaluation. He's a good player, but I don't think he's ever going to be a great fantasy asset.
Sky Moore Plus kind of a thing. I've got a confession to make, by the way. I went up to get a drink and I realized we have no cold drinks. I drank all the coffee, so I had to make coffee. And while I was waiting, I noticed my daughter had made cupcakes because she likes making cupcakes so she can whip up homemade icing and then just eat the icing. And so while you all were talking about Josh Jacobs, I was sitting up there eating a cupcake.
Did you bring enough for the whole class?
I was like, cupcake icing with spoon, which is the best way to ice a cupcake, I've found, by the way. Just screw the knife, get a spoon, and you just dollop it on and kind of smush it
just
around.
Your hand, just smear it.
That was the second cupcake. But anyway, I was feeling guilty, so I thought I'd share. Jeff Adams, I have no cupcakes for you. I picked F1 up in a big trade that included other players, and I'm excited for him to be my wide receiver too. Yeah, I think he's really solid too.
Yep.
Yeah. Daniel Green. Daniel, how you doing? Sorry, I tried your second name. I should know better by now. What's your favorite time of the year for startup drafts? Now?
Always?
But that's kind of always the answer. Like you could ask me 2 months and I'd say like nowish.
Well, I love right away, like right after the season. I think doing a startup right away is a lot of fun. And then I love the last minute ones because I love seeing the difference between the values between February and August. But I mean, I don't think there's a right answer. Like, I don't think there's a best time. I think it's very preference based.
So I do think there's a best time, and it's because I am an absolute degenerate for rookie drafts. And so I want to draft now, and I want to include rookie picks in my startup draft.
Yes.
So
There's
then
no
I
other
can
way to
have
do
a
it right
rookie.
now.
I can have a rookie draft after the NFL draft.
1,000%.
And Daniel, I get what you're thinking with potential injuries and that sort of thing, but this is a dynasty league. You're going to get that, and every year there are going to be injuries. So, I understand you wanting to like mitigate that to start with, but you're not going to have any control over that going forward. So embrace it, get in, jump in now, include the rookie picks in your startup. So when you're drafting, maybe the second or third or fourth round, all of a sudden someone goes and grabs the 101 for next year or for this year. I mean, and so you get your startup, and then you get to look forward to that rookie draft, and it's just double the fun.
I want to talk about this, though.
Okay.
That is the only way you should do startups before the rookie draft. Okay, that's a lie. If you're going to do a separate rookie draft, you should absolutely have the picks included in the startup. If you want to do the players, which I also think is a lot of fun, like I have my one league where we do the rookie draft before the NFL draft, just because why not? I mean, it's a $25 league, and I thought it was
I've heard of that
fun idea, which was a terrible idea to invite Zach into that league, but that's besides the point. But I really think any way of choosing the rookie order that isn't putting it in the startup is wrong. Like a snake draft is created because it's not perfect, but it makes every pick slot sort of equal. So giving reverse order is just not fair.
Right.
Doing random, again, isn't fair because it doesn't snake. Like, if you want to snake your rookie draft, then I guess do random or whatever, but that seems lame, not going to lie. But if that makes you happy, go for it. Like, any other way to try and do it outside of putting the picks in the draft, to me, I don't like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it because the rookie drafts are a different animal, because you don't have that reversal, you don't have that snake. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like it's not, So I agree. I like to have them. I think you can get such value with the picks in your startup. If you're paying attention and you have done diligence on the incoming rookie class, I think that there are times when you can get huge value, and one way or the other. Either your draft is going to be people going after rookie picks, and value is going to fall to you in players, or your draft is going to ignore rookie picks and value is going to fall you in rookie picks. So enjoy it, Dan. Daniel. Sorry, whichever way you choose to do that.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a good time considering I've just looked ahead to see how far behind we are. We try and answer every question that comes our way. We try to get out of here before 1 a.m. because these guys hate me because we never do.
I'm off work tomorrow, so I'm good. Let's go.
If we don't get to your question in time, please just check it out on YouTube or Twitch or the DLF YouTube, because we will get to it. And I apologize that we take our time in answering every question in detail. That's so mean of us. I apologize for that.
Yeah, it's 10:30
Spock
already, so I ain't making it to 1.
Fair enough. Spock 498 in a 12-team Superflex. I have the 106. He will take QB. Don't try and talk him out of it. 205, 303, 304, 508. What's a fair offer to move up to the 109 because he wants another elite quarterback? This goes well to what we were saying about Superflex drafts. The fact that you can approach it this way instead of, my generic answer. What was that, Russ?
I said, don't worry about it. You'll get a great one at 205. I have the small sample size of small sample sizes. I am in a mock for DLF Superflex ADP. That's the 205. Okay, hold on. 201. Dak. Okay, wow. There's a really big non-quarterback streak here, but at the 201, Dak Prescott, Jalen Waddle, Javonte Williams, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey. Russell Wilson went at the 209. And then at the 212, 301 was Fields and Lawrence.
Where did Hurts go? Just out of curiosity. Before that, after that?
308.
Yeah, so yeah. Feel good about it. I'm not necessarily trading up to make sure I have a quarterback spot in that situation, because there are enough, especially if you take a first one in the first round at 106. If you take one of those elite guys, I'm not even necessarily married to taking one in the second round, but that's just me.
Like I said, I wait until the Kirk Cousins tier, so I'm wondering about why.
I do love. I never feel the need for two very, very good quarterbacks, but it does make me feel good about my team. But man, if you're telling me I would have to give up the equivalent of Cooper Kupp / AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts,
Jalen Waddle too, yeah,
at the 109, I mean, let me just tell you again, super small, but the first 6 picks were Mahomes, Herbert, Allen, Burrow, Lamar, Kyler. Are you trading up for someone that isn't those guys? I don't think that's worth it.
Right.
Yeah, quarterbacks are never cheaper than in the startup, but at the same time, that's also true for the others. You get Kirk Cousins free, not that the Kirk Cousins make you feel good about your team, to Russ's point.
It's super safe, though. Cousins has a 5'11", by the way.
Yeah. Nicholas J. I know it's next year's class, but what do you predict will be better than Keyshawn Boodle or JSN? I've heard Boodle and JSN could be better than Justin Jefferson. I don't know about that, but I know JSN is that level of prospect already.
So is Booty. They're both really great, but I haven't watched enough of either of them, and I won't until next November. So,
do you guys know off the top of your head what school they go to?
LSU and Ohio State.
Ohio.
Booty's LSU, and yeah.
JSN's Ohio, where he is right now.
Yep.
He literally took everyone's lunch last year. He was like, "Oh, I see there's a competition of the best year's wide receivers in this class. Let me just take that."
They are both amazing.
Let me just take that away from you at 19 years old. You don't need that, right? You're going to the draft. Don't worry about it. It's fine now.
They are a lot closer to the way Jamar Chase plays than the way Justin Jefferson plays, if that makes sense. So they're closer to traditional X wide receivers than they are, because Jefferson's not really an X in the Des Bryant, vein, and I mean, I guess neither is Chase, but he's closer to that, and those two are closer, big, physical, go up and get it, but also can create separation. It's going to be a lot of fun.
What dress?
I said Julio-esque as opposed to Des Bryant.
Yeah.
I randomly saw a Julio is now a DB video compilation on YouTube. It was playing while I was doing other things, and it was just him chasing people all the way down the field, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It's just this guy running his heart out, and then from the corner you see that guy's different. Anyway, sorry. Giddy up. 10-team, 3 wide receiver, 2 flex. Would you look to swap Chase for Waddle Higgins?
Wait, are you telling me I can get both of them?
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying.
If you can get
this same answer as the last guy, but you're putting names on it, which is better. I wouldn't trade Chase just to trade Chase, but if I would be looking for an awesome trade to do it, but that's pretty close to an awesome trade.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was you, Peter, who said that's a perfect pivot going from Chase to Waddle because their production wasn't all that different, but their value is.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, give me Higgins on top of Waddle, and I will trade Chase away.
Absolutely.
Dynasty Grind delivers the goods. Great content. Thank you. Could I ask you to write a blurb for us? Because
I think he just did.
I was watching Twitter today, that thread you were in, Zach, and I'm in 2 months they're going to be saying the stuff we were saying the last 5 weeks, and no one's going to care that we told.
That's it.
Because we've got me at the helm, and I don't retweet. I'm not in any retweet groups. I don't do marketing, and I'm no, we're gonna.
It was really funny. Everyone's like, "Yeah, I wrote an article this week about how Travis Etienne is going to be and we've been talking about that for
guys.
Where you been? We're going to see one video, and Etienne is going to skyrocket up, and he's going to be a top 12 running back, and because you bought him 3 weeks ago, you're going to be happy.
I'm sorry, guys. If like literally anyone who was half decent at this was actually at the head of it, you all be famous by now because you've literally already predicted the next 2 weeks of Twitter takes. So like last 7 weeks.
It's been longer than that. It was
people,
Hunter Renfrow.
As
Peter.
if they,
I got Cooper Kupp in Deco preseason.
I went back to our episodes because I was looking to try and learn the clip, like I said at the start, and now I'm banned from all my accounts because apparently I suck. But I just came across all these Hunter Renfrow takes and these Jalen Waddle takes from like weeks before anyone mentioned them. Like, man, we could have really helped some folks. Apart from the 40 or 50 that show up every week, they're the only ones who know. And then all of fantasy footballdom is going to come in like in 2 months and claim they've discovered this stuff that literally you two were talking about 2 months ago. I'm like, damn it.
And it goes again, that it goes right back to the conversation that I was having today. I'm going to name drop. You ready? The conversation that I was having today with JJ Zacharyson and Graham Barfield and Scott Barrett, but
he's just casually in a conversation.
Every day. No.
He sent me a screenshot of his notifications and was freaking the hell out.
It was pretty wild. But the thing that I said was,
we ain't proud.
A thought that has stuck with me goes something to the effect of experts are really prone to sound sure and plant flags on one side of an argument. And restrained and nuanced argument doesn't get attention because people engage with emotion, but emotion is the enemy of rationality. And like that's the thing. Like we're not planting flags. We're telling you what we think and how we got there, and are often right, but some often wrong too. But because we come at it with a rationality, and we're not taking our shirt off and waving it into the air and saying Jalen Waddle's going to be a wide receiver
get us
one,
100 more viewers, or
Cooper Kupp is going to be a top 12 wide receiver this year. Like because we're not doing that, you're not gaining the notoriety. So it's kind of fun though to be our little secret and to have the chat, the people in the chat, which has been so great for the past. I've only been around the past 10 or so weeks, but like it's been fantastic. It's been a lot of fun, and it's kind of nice to have our little secret with the chat.
Right. So the moral I'm taking from this is, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I'll get naked, but I think we'll lose people. No, even like I was listening back to some of. It was last week or the week before, and we were trying to convince Russ that no one values Hunter Renfrow, and I went through it today, and even right now, like Hunter Renfrow is worth less than a second-round pick. Like he's basically a bottom of the barrel second-round pick. I'm like, see, we even got that right. Whatever. Anyway, what's the best strategy on attaining a third QB in a 12-team Superflex league? In the draft, overvalue the second tier. That's literally why I do that, because I'm going to give up that first tier to get my running backs and wide receivers, and then I just give up on all my favorite second, third, fourth running back and wide receivers, and I make sure I lock in 3 starters. Or you can, do a John Hogue and just it was funny. When I was doing that podcast with him, he's like, he gets questions about quarterbacks, and his immediate answer is like, I don't know what to tell you. Quarterback, yes. Like it's just, I just don't have to make a decision. Take all the quarterbacks. But if you're already in the league, so the startup draft is done, what's your best strategy for acquiring a quarterback?
Rookie draft.
Yeah,
that's like once you're in a league, like that's the 2 cheapest ways to acquire. But Spock's asking what round, so this is a startup. But yeah, like if I'm already in a league that's going, it's try to acquire picks in a class that has pretty good, rookie quarterbacks. So last year,
sorry, I missed that second part.
That's all good. You didn't miss anything.
Which rounds would you be looking at? Rounds 5 to 7. That's when we're picking up all our favorite sleeper, gonna break out this year players, and I just end up taking quarterbacks. And I hate it because I got a lot of those guys I like, but I take my third quarterback right there.
Yeah.
I think, isn't that right? Our house, you said Kirk's around.
Yeah,
round 5?
I just went and sorted by quarterbacks, starting in the 4th at the 310. Actually, let's start at the 310 was Malik Willis. 404, Derek Carr, 405, Watson, Tua, Mac Jones, 410, Zach Wilson, 511, Kirk Cousins, 6'4", Davis Mills, 7'4", Matt Corral, 8'8", Kenny Pickett.
If you could get Watson as your QB3, which means there's not a lot of risk there, but he could be a QB1, I am all about that. Because I honestly don't mind not starting a quarterback in a week if I have two quarterbacks in Watson. I don't mind flexing a position player for a week. I really don't.
I'll be straight up honest. Most of my teams don't have 3 starting quarterbacks on them.
Most of my teams don't have 2, but
not after the first year. I know, like, honestly, I trade him.
I firmly agree with Hogue. Yes, quarterbacks, just go get them all, do whatever. But the problem is, me being me, I see them as dead weight, and I'm like, okay, cool, I could trade with them. Like I can go get other pretty things. And while that may not always be for the best of my team, but like Zach said, as long as I have those 2 quarterbacks, I, at that point, from trading away that 3rd or 4th quarterback, have someone I feel fine putting in that last flex position when my second QB has a bye. No. Now, if he gets hurt and then your other QB gets on a bye week, either you're taking a 0 or you got to make a move before you get there. But I don't play scared like that. Like, I'll figure it out again, purely based on the leagues I'm in. I know if I have to, I could make a move. If I want to pay the cost for it for that 1 week or just take the 0 in that spot. That's, very situationally dependent, but most of my teams only have 2 quarterbacks.
I've increasingly made it an aspect to get a third one that starts every week, so I can stream if I need to, as well as just bye weeks. But
right now I'm just crossing.
That's also as a reaction to the fact that QBX strat, from John Hogue is more popular, and people are increasingly value those higher tier quarterbacks. And my reaction to it hasn't been to chase it; it's been to bulk up what I do in the middle of the pack. Which is adding a third that's not just an interesting guy who might start, or even just a rookie pick to get the same thing, but it's to make sure I got a Derek Carr or an extra Kirk Cousins or an extra. Well, let's see. Players on my list.
Daniel Jones isn't the starter for the Giants.
No,
I will not have 3 quarterbacks on any teams. Like, I have so many teams with 2 quarterbacks and Daniel Jones.
It's Tua, Mac, Kirk Cousins, Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm gonna get 2 of them plus another guy somewhere. So. Randy, that was just description, but also
can
Randy's
confirm.
Talking. Are you guys coming to Canton? I'm gonna try. I bought a ticket, but I don't have a hotel reservation or car reservation because I'm not rich like all you folk. Spending money on something you might do in 3 months. I'm just, but I bought a ticket just to try and promote.
Peter, if I have to drive to Kentucky to pick you up, you are coming to the expo. Yes.
Don't give me an excuse not to book.
I'm gonna be. I'll put you.
Man. I'll be like, Zach's gonna come get me. He said I'll be sitting there with a bag.
Get you. I'll put you.
Hoping it happens.
Kyle has a king bed. We can cuddle you up with Kyle. It'll be fantastic.
Here's the thing. Maybe I'm just a curmudgeon, but like I almost have no interest in the expo. Like I don't want to go. Like I just want to meet the people who are there. Like it's and it's Russ. I'm like, can't we just go to a bar next door? And then I was talking about it with someone else, and like maybe we could tweet that and see if people turn up to the expo or the bar next door. If everyone that's at the expo just goes to the bar next door, I think that'd be funny.
The entire expo is the bar next door. Like that's
the expo sounds great. I'm not like the expo's crap, but I'm just like I'm not an industry person. I like people.
Hold on, stop.
Much like
stop. It's like we literally did like a spin and a half through the actual expo. Everything else was just meeting people, talking to people, going out to eat, and going to the Hall of Fame and walking through the Hall of Fame and hanging out with Adam Wilde and Chris and Bosch and Tim and just everybody. It was meeting
with better resolution. But that's a picture. I said I wish my camera had better resolution. That's a picture of me and Zach and me at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and all of these people which was weird but cool at the same time. But people who listen to us and were like, listening to us have conversations, and I'm just like, Like,
and I have yet.
I'm
I
like,
think
that's
I've
Mike
yet to-
Clay over there. You don't need to be listening to me.
I've yet to, I think, curse on this thing, but I'm going to do it. Someone walked over to me. He's like, "You're Outhouse, right? I recognize your voice."
Yeah.
I geeked the fuck out so hard.
But it is. It's so much fun, and like the expo itself, like the actual.
I'm sure it's awesome. I just not.
No, like
expo
that's
type
not
person.
like that's not actually what the expo is about. Like
That's not for us.
Let's put it that way.
That's more for the fans, but for us it is, or for the
Saturday night.
Yeah, for us it's everything else that goes with it. There's so much FaceTime with people that you only spend time with on streams, and it's so cool. And it's, I mean, it'd be cool for anybody, not just an analyst. Like, you can literally go have a conversation with Mike Clay, or you can go have a conversation with the Dynasty Outhouse, or or Scott Fish, and like everybody's there. It's awesome.
Michael Fabiano was walking around holding a title belt, and I've never talked to this man on Twitter before. I literally just walked over and grabbed the belt and walked away. And he's just like,
and I had reasonably low expectations for the expo last year, aside from meeting Russ, J Mike, and Gabe. Like, I was like, okay, this is gonna be good. That's gonna be my saving grace. It absolutely blew every expectation out of the water, and I'm so excited to go again.
See, that's what it like. I'm not a crowd or an expo person. The reason we're talking about this is because Randy asked, so it's allowed. I it's not even like I don't want to meet like Randy. I'd love to meet Randy and talk fantasy football with him, but it feels like calling it feels like taking myself seriously, and I just
you don't have to.
I can do. I do not.
I walked around in a Bull Rush t-shirt.
I am
don't
not
worry
about
they're
that.
not like sitting there with notebooks
Like,
listening to you talk. You just get to meet
God
people.
damn, better not, because you do not need to. But I don't know. I just when I think about leaving the house again, anxiety. Maybe that's it.
Oh well, yes, that is absolutely.
But yeah, this is all to say I've paid for a ticket to help support my industry, I guess, and I'm gonna try.
Peter's
That's the best
coming.
I can say for right now. Nicholas, Keen and why are people talking about that guy? I've seen like 4 people mention him on Twitter.
This is partially your fault, because athleticism matters in athletics, Peter. And
that a
you
thing
were
I
part
said?
of that for a while. No, you didn't say that. You were part of the problem for a while.
Was I?
For a while, not always, just for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. I do
You and your-
reference,
you and
but is that why is he really athletic? I've only heard
he's
his
very
name 'cause
fast.
people talk
Yeah,
about him
he's
as
a good returner.
oh, okay, cool. Well, in trade addicts leagues, that might matter.
Yeah.
Taylor Reeves, who's a buy low wide receiver 2? Why would you aim for a wide receiver 2? I don't know.
Because you
For
need
a
those.
lineup that starts 3 wide receivers in a 12-team
Hunter
league.
Renfrow.
Yeah, free. Go get Hunter Renfrow. I think Marcus Brown trades at that
Absolutely.
price. Late first-round pick. Get Marcus Brown for that kind of value. Not necessarily a pick, but definitely that kind of value.
Keenan
If you're
Allen
looking-
might be a guy.
Yeah, because
Yep.
age will give him such a discount, but he's still going to be awesome.
Yep. If we're talking like who's the low value guy, like the guys on my list for that outside of Hunter Renfrow are like OBJ's got an ACL problem now, but
Brandon Cooks.
Always.
Cooks.
Even
I've
though
got
he's got
Cooks.
big trade rumors again.
I think Landry
care.
and
He
Boyd
puts
still
up
might have a
1,000
little bit
yards.
left in the fantasy tank for
Boyd.
nothing.
Yeah,
Basically,
I was thinking Boyd.
Michael Thomas too. I know
I
Peter.
think
You
that's
always
back
bring him
to the
up.
Keenan Allen level.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
think even less for an acquisition cost, because I think people haven't
Oh,
seen
really?
Michael.
Mhm.
People have forgotten about Michael Thomas, Peter. You haven't, but people have.
We do forget. That's
Also,
sad.
like, there's the noobs out there that haven't seen Michael Thomas do it.
Yeah.
I pray to God that Locke nor Bridgewater ever start again.
At least for the Broncos. No, I want
Let's
Drew
hope
Lock
for the sake
to
of
go,
the team.
I want Drew Lock to be like Winston for the Saints. I want him to go be a backup somewhere for a little while and step in and just be a little not as crappy as he was last time, because he's fun to watch. He's Jameis. He's DGAF.
Almost the exact opposite. Like, I always feel like defending Bridgewater. I think Bridgewater's decent. He can do things that
He's the
if
definition of a safe
Locke
quarterback.
or Daniel Jones or Jameis Winston could do half what Bridgewater could do, they would be incredible QBs in this league. Like, that's underrated. He's got so much of the game locked down, and he got a hard and raw deal and got injured out the league when he was gonna maybe get a contract with Minnesota, and I just feel bad. Like, he's an incredibly talented young man, but yeah, for the sake of fantasy, let's hope they don't start, I guess. I traded Jefferson because I'm in a contract league. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Kamara or 2023 first and a second.
Honestly, that's not bad for Kamara anymore.
I'd probably take all three of those: the first, the 206, and Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt he scored basically what Nick Chubb did last year.
He's been a top 12 running back, and
he's been on every 0 RB team I have, and all I have is 0 RB teams. I want
to take him off my old guy buy list, but there's just no point. No one cares, and you should just buy it. But Kamara is an interesting category. Everyone in Kamara's category is almost better for their points. But if you're going to trade, this is really good value to get back for someone like Kamara. Yeah, especially if your league team's looking for value. And honestly, Hunt's got good production left. You're fine. I think that's good. Rate the trade. I rate it 7 bananas out of an unknown scale of bananas.
Do we have the trade?
No, that's the thing. That's why I'm keeping the scale secret too. Nicholas J, 2023 first, 206. And I know what happens here, Richard, by the way. I get it. You were planning to post it right next, and then someone else and someone else and someone else.
Well, you probably also went to hit shift enter, but missed.
It's very understandable. I wasn't making fun of you. Sorry.
He was, but he understands. It's out of empathy.
Yeah, it's just a thing that happens to everyone. Don't worry about it. Nicholas J, 23 first.
No, he's agreeing that was a good trade for Freak Stomp 49er.
Fine. I suck. I get it. Weaves, glad I asked. Honestly, didn't think about moving Swift for depth, but something good to consider. I think it's a really good idea to consider. I mean, you got to have a good trade. Like, there's a reason he's in the top
don't
5
just move
Dynasty.
him, but yeah.
But because he's there, I really strongly consider it. And again, you don't have to. The thing is, I think Jacobs plus for Swift is one of the smartest ideas I've had in a while, but you don't need Jacobs yet. You can wait 2 months. It's fine. Swift is still going to be high value. Jacobs still going to be low value. So you've got plenty of time to think about it.
Do anything with running backs right now.
No, nothing at all. Freak Stomp 49er, which is objectively an awesome name. Sweet, thank you. Wish I remember what we said. Richard Davis, rate the trade. Give Swift, Bateman, and Ayuk the 109 and the 302. Receive Jefferson, Dillon, Kirk. Yeah, Jefferson, please.
Yeah.
I want more than Dillon, but yeah, that's what I like. I want Jefferson in that trade.
Does it make you feel Dillon's value is going to rise?
Yeah. Can I trade him? I want to trade him. Let's trade him. Richard, good trade. Trade Dillon.
Later. But yeah. 10-team Superflex, especially the smaller the league size, the more important studs are. Like I have said earlier, so that's Jefferson all day. Even if it wasn't already. I think I like the Jefferson side. Freak Stomp gets it. Joe Herbert, this draft seems to be a class where you can virtually
absolutely.
I wouldn't throw it out the window. You don't have to take, say, your favorite third round sleeper in the first round. I mean, trade down or wait because, but the ADP, there is smart stuff going into that. But yeah, basically, if they're within a range or within a tier, don't be worried about reaching on your guy. Don't.
This is going to be a year where I will use the buy on credit more. Yeah. And I will even do that in the first round this year, but because usually I do that in the second round where I will identify a player that I want that's still on the board. I'll say I'll give you next year's second plus a third. Let's get it done. I may be doing that in the first round this year just because you don't know where Garrett Wilson's going to go. You don't know where all of these players that you might like. Pickens may go anywhere from 104 to 203 or 204. Like there's
was actually the name I was going to use. Yeah, like Olave, Wilson, and Pickens are going to be probably late first round picks, and you don't have to be like, well, I have to take Wilson because Pickens is 3 picks later. Just take Pickens. You can go for your guy if that's your guy there.
So it is. It's going to be the Wild West, and I've said that a few times. This class feels so much like 2019, and 2019 was absolutely like that. Where I had AJ Brown as my wide receiver 1. I could take him at the 210 or 211 because ADP didn't matter. Everybody was all over the place, and nobody was as high on AJ Brown. Now, I don't have a player like that this year. Like, I'm watching this class and I want to be excited about a player. I'm just not. Like, Traylon Burks is pretty clearly the 101 to me. And beyond that, it's just a lot of like, I think these guys are okay. And there is some ceiling. I think Pickens, I think Garrett Wilson, and Jameson Williams, like, there are guys with ceiling, but it's like, I don't love anybody.
This is to put the context into the context. Like 2019, we had Debo going in the second round. We had Deontay going in the third, sometimes the fourth round. You don't have to draft Deontay in the first round, but you should not be all scared of taking him in the second because you don't like anyone else. It's fine.
Right.
You know, you don't have to go crazy with it, but you can really just take a guy. Also, team is Dak, Lawrence, Lance, ETN. I appreciate the phonetic spelling of ETN, by the way, so much. Dylan, Fournette, Sanders, Chase Lamb, Jefferson, Robinson, Allen Robinson, Kirk, Myers, Jacob, Pitts, Mouth. No, sorry, I'm saying it. That's Pitts Mouth. I'm sorry. I will let Muth go by, but if you put the O and the U in there, that's just Pitts Mouth. He has Pitts Mouth on his team. What do you think of Muth? Pat Faramuth, for anyone who isn't cool enough to understand the abbreviation. I asked Zach about him the other day at Outhouse, but what's your take?
He's good. It would be something crazy for him to reach into that top echelon of tight ends, in which case...
Sure. Not the top 3 kind of a thing. Yeah.
So, like, he's probably the definition. He's in that second tier of, like, Goddard, Fant, like guys you feel safe starting every single week, and maybe they'll give you the tight ends 1 week, but I don't think he's ever going to finish top 3 or 4 at the position for the year.
He's a dynasty tight end 7 right now in ADP.
That's fine.
January ADP, because even though it's the 23rd of freaking February, I still have January ADP.
Well,
but anyway.
rollover.
But, like, I feel like everyone's surprised when I list him in the top 12 of my dynasty ranks. I'm like, he's already above that. I don't know what...
Oh, he's absolutely top 12.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wait, Zach was shaking his head at me. Did I say something?
It's... You ever heard the band Bread? They're like a 60s. They had a song, and it started out, "It don't matter to me," and that's how I feel about every tight end after the top 5. Like, it's fine. Muth is fine. He's touchdown dependent. He's going to have a couple of touchdowns in a week, and it's going to be great. And he's going to have weeks where he just doesn't, and that's also fine.
He's big, though. Who's the top 3 tight ends that you want? Not dynasty value, just top 3 you think are the better tight ends. They're going to score more.
Next year or dynasty, like,
not
going
dynasty,
forward?
me, man. Yeah, next year, sure.
Next year,
always
Andrews, Kittle, Kelsey.
Same. Andrews, Kittle,
maybe
Kelsey,
not even in that
Pitts.
order, but just those 3.
Yeah. No, I think...
so Pitts is there only for value.
Pitts is there for value. If Waller stays healthy, I think there's a chance he pushes his way back into there. But I think those are those are the 3 safest choices, and you won't be disappointed, injuries not included.
And
yeah, I think Pitts could do it in points.
Pitts could too. I mean, like, he had a year where he didn't score touchdowns, which
exactly,
unless you're Julio Jones, that shouldn't be a thing.
I think you have it the wrong way. I think unless your first name starts with a C, you can't score touchdowns in Atlanta, because it was just Calvin Ridley and Cordell Patterson.
See, you got something there.
Julio did fine with touchdowns. It was 1 year. Don't make me play that Julio is a DB video.
To CKYLE. He'll catch touchdowns.
I'm sorry, it's Mouth now. I'm gonna call him Mouth. Brother Roz, Godwin is a solid year 3 starter on most rosters. I think he's going to struggle to start the season, but I mean, in general, sure.
Yes, exactly. In general, 1000% yes.
He's like a top 12 wide receiver the last 3 years. He's Diggs and Deontay, that level scorer, but he's drafted as wide receiver 15. So I think that's going to come back up. But right now, it's kind of a weird value. Max Borge, any good? I mean, he caught 86 receptions 1 year, so he can probably catch a ball or two. Role player, hopefully he can get in a place where that role has a lot of value. But
he had a bad injury.
Yeah,
he had a bad injury last year, like not this past year, but the year before. Like he hurt his back. Yeah, and so that was interesting. I haven't even watched him this year because it was I'd watched him a couple of years ago, and I was like, you know what? Everyone says he's McCaffrey. He's not. So shrug. That's pretty much where we're at. Shrug.
My favorite thing about Max Borge is just hearing Kane Fassell say his name. I don't know why it is, but he went on a stretch of talking about Max Borge for like 3 weeks in a row, and I'm talking like a year and a half ago. Yeah, because Devi_Kane, so he's known.
I mean, he had 86 receptions 3 years ago. Yeah,
I've heard he had it was either CMC or Alvin Kamara comps, and just don't be expecting that.
No, I mean, like Gio Bernard comps is probably more realistic.
See, what did it write? 86 catch season at 19, 50% total dominator with only 800 rushing yards. Yeah, I don't know, something weird going on there. That's my notes.
But the other thing is, it's like Washington State, that offense. And I can't remember the name of the guy. It'll come to me. But the coach that was there, like that was his offense. Like he threw the ball to running backs a ton. There was another. I'll come up with it. Keep talk amongst yourselves. Okay. But there was another running back who James Williams that was there that had 80-something receptions in 2018. That was just like, and everybody was like, oh, he's going to come in and be great. And he just isn't, because that's the offense. The offense is we're going to throw little flare screen passes to running backs, and they're going to look like they're great, and they're not.
JC Riddle, 12-team Superflex PPR. Which side? Carr, Cousins, CMC, MG3, Mike Evans, Mike Evans or Kyler, the 109.
Sorry, that was the coach.
The 111 and Jimmy G. Superflex, I'd take the side with 2 quarterbacks, I guess.
It is weird.
Oh, wait, both have 2 quarterbacks, technically. Yeah, that's a weird trade. Cousins and Carr versus Jimmy and Kyler.
I'm going to say just give me the Kyler side, because this
Kyler
is weird,
and the 2
so give me the
picks.
best player, and I'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Also, Jimmy G's probably going to start next year.
I think he will start somewhere.
Okay, well, I'll take it for now. But yeah, okay.
That's gross. I know. I want to see it. That's gross. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take Kyler in the 2 picks.
I guess.
I mean, CMC's just sitting there begging to be the highest scoring player out of this. But it's a weird ass trade, dude. It's even, I guess, but there are more things that are going to die on the vine by this time next year. So I'll take on the one side. So I'll take the Kyler side.
Kyler in the picks. Kick the can down the road.
Yes, sir. Richard Davis also starting up a new Dynasty League this offseason. Congrats. What are your favorite leagues that you play in? Anything with Dynasty Outhouse in it? 10 team,
absolutely.
10 team, 12 team. I like real vanilla stuff, honestly, just because I like knowing the background immediately, and then you can just start having fun with your league mates. Make trades, don't make trades, make draft picks, don't. I hate having to spend 10 minutes to familiarize myself with all the rules. So I like 12-team PPR scoring. Superflex is just fine. 2 QBs just fine. I don't really like tight end premium, but it doesn't affect me. So it's fine. Throw it in there if you want. I do like the addition of small things like return yards. So you have a few more players like the Trade Addicts leagues that are actually able to score points. But that's essentially it. I like a deeper bench and a taxi squad, but they're not essential. Outside of that, I'm happy. You guys have any particular preferences?
I know Zach just wants to make sure it is not an auction league. I like everything Peter just said. I know Zach's answer is the same as mine. It really just comes down to the people in the league more than anything else.
Yes.
But if we
Yeah,
are
yeah,
talking league settings, my minimum requirement is 12-team Superflex PPR tight end premium. And I want 1.75 at least, because I really don't think 1.5 does anything. And I mean, God, I record like 2 or 3 podcasts with Bosch at this point, so I'm used to the argument. I don't care if you don't think it matters. It's not the point of tight end premium is not to make a difference within the tight ends themselves. It's to make the shit tight ends score a little better, because not everyone's going to have a worthwhile tight end in a 12-team league, which is the minimum of teams I want anyway. So that's really what I like. Like Peter was saying, I like being able to go to a wide receiver and say, okay, he caught 6 passes for 100 yards. Cool, 16 points. Like, I don't want to have points per first down and wait, no, it's
I like to be able to do it in my head.
Yeah.
I like to know what's going on in my team while I watch the game. Put it that way.
Yeah, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, all of that stuff is awesome. Like,
oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
Playing with scoring to make things even is great. But I don't care enough. Like, to me, it's more about fun, which means I like just being like, yay, 6 for 100. I know what that means. So
that goes back to it's who's in the league. Like, I'm in some John Bosch leagues. I'm in as complicated ass league as you could possibly mention, because John Bosch runs it.
In it? And
because I love everyone in there. I like hearing them talk about. It's on Voxer, so sometimes they literally speak, and you can listen and you can watch them talk. And I have nothing to add because I don't get the league. But I really enjoy listening and talking to them all, and I like everyone in it. That's literally, to your point, it's about who's in the league. Even if the league frustrates the hell out of me, I can still have fun. And that's what I do.
So I got 2 things for Richard. And the first one is, if you're not already, you should get on your Apple Podcast app or whatever podcast app you have and look up Commission Impossible. Before you start a league, it's Scott Fish and Ryan McDowell, and
clear like a week of your calendar.
Yeah, it's
all of it.
Like Outhouse, Bosch, Scott Fish, Ryan McDowell are the 4 horsemen, like of commissioners. They're the
no, horseman's right.
Yeah, exactly what you are aspiring to be. The second thing I will say is I really enjoy a setting that Kyle, who is the commissioner of my home league, has put in with taxi squads. And we have an unlimited taxi squad for the first 2 years of players. And the reason why I love this is because it all of a sudden makes second, third, fourth, fifth round picks valuable, because you can draft players and have them not count against your roster requirements, roster restrictions, and just have them. And so it makes these picks valuable to trade. It makes the picks valuable to have, because you can take 15 shots in, the third, fourth, fifth round of a draft in a rookie class, and just set them aside. And if one of them becomes something, that's great. And so it increases the value. Otherwise, to me, after a mid-second, I don't care. And during a season, I don't even care about a second. I don't care about second-round picks. I don't care about third-round picks. And the only leagues I do are the leagues that I'm in with Kyle that has the unlimited taxi squad and that ability to stash players for 2 years.
I like that idea, because taxi squads kind of suck. I love the idea of them, but everyone's got you have to take them off the taxi squad after a year or 2, and I'm like, let's just not do it then. Let's just have bench spots. Why do I have a taxi squad? Because why I want them is so I can draft my 3rd, 4th round guy, because the reason they're low is it's Hunter Renfrow. They're going to break out in year 5, and you're going to make me bench them after year 2. Like, that's not the point of knowing about a deep player. I should just be able to stash him and keep him there. And you can all bitch he's not on the waiver wire. Tough. I drafted him. I saw it coming before you. Otherwise, there's like no value in like deep research. It's just like, I'll do what everyone else does and take them off the waiver wire. Like, I wish taxi squads were basically, if you drafted them, you can keep them till they retire. Screw you. You should have drafted them. Like, like that should be the advantage of spending a draft pick to put someone in your taxi squad. Instead, it's just like it's kind of nothing. Taxi squads, yeah, I like extra rules about taxi squads, maybe, but just getting on a high horse. B. I'm just gonna call you B. Dynasty SFX 6 points touchdowns. Would you trade Joe Burrow for Mac Jones in the 105 and the 2023 first? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I'd have that kind of attitude about it. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Russ is shaking his head.
Russ would not. No.
Look, I get it. The value is there, but I don't want it.
Fair enough.
If it was someone with a better upside than Mac Jones, if it was maybe the 103, we could start talking. But
okay, I think that's fair.
Mac Jones and the 105 are so meh, and that 23 first can be the 112 for all we know. I
think I'm a little lower on Burrow than most. I think that's what was making me go,
is
sure. But honestly, no. He's just on the outside of it.
Okay, wait. Let me rephrase that. How big is your top tier of quarterbacks?
You can make me look. I'm gonna say 5 just as a guess, but I can look.
Well, see, like what I was talking about in that draft I was in, my top tier at this point is pretty much 6 players. Now, the reality is the top is probably 3 players, but really, it's those 6 players.
Yeah, I got 5.
Mahomes, Herbert, Kyler, Allen, Lamar, and and Burrow.
So here's a question.
Yeah, I stopped just before Burrow. I don't think he's in that difference-making points category.
Do you think you could pair Mac Jones in the 105 and go get a quarterback that would move the needle? Because I'm with you. Mac Jones doesn't move the needle. He's a mid-range QB2. That's what he is.
But it's so specific that you're going to have to find someone that wants Mac Jones, that is willing to downgrade to Mac Jones and hold it at Mac Jones. By the way, Burrow was QB 9 in points per game.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's good. He was
and
in
the
the
only
top 50% of weeks, same as Kirk Cousins.
He played them all, which makes me happy. I get it. Usually in a league that is active, if you could find let's say you wanted to trade Burrow away. I'm gonna make this super specific. If you wanted to trade Burrow away for whatever reason, maybe you don't think he's the top tier, and this is 3 firsts, and that's what you get for top tier quarterbacks. You say okay, but I think what Zach was saying is the right way to have to think about it in that case, because this shouldn't be your last stop.
Right.
But chances are, I want to hold on to that 23 first instead of holding on to the 105. I think you'd have a better chance trading Mac and the 23 first for a different quarterback. But you are cutting your trade pool into such a small group, looking for someone willing to downgrade from a difference-making quarterback to Mac Jones in the 105.
But I think you could, to Peter's point, I think you could probably go look at Kirk Cousins, who's not a difference-making quarterback, but he's good in what?
But Burrow.
But Burrow has
the ceiling weekly to be able to do it.
Yeah,
every week. That's the thing. He scores like Kirk Cousins, and he's valued 2 picks above.
But listen, he scores like Kirk Cousins, and has been running for his life behind an offensive line. You haven't seen Burrow run yet.
I'm not talking about how good he is as a quarterback. Obviously, Burrow's phenomenal. That's a different thing.
No, but I mean fantasy wise, you have not seen Burrow run yet, and Burrow can put up the same rushing floor as Herbert and those guys that are getting 25, 30, 40 yards a week. Burrow can do that.
Dak though?
Dak can, or certainly Dak can. Dak was my butt when I went on 4 for 4 this week. Dak was my buy at quarterback because I think people are overlooking Dak Prescott, who had a bad year as QB9.
I'd say that's the difference. It's not, the value's fine, and I would be okay trading Burrow, but I'm not just trading him to trade him. So go look for your Dak Prescott and get something on top of Dak Prescott for Burrow, and suddenly it's an interesting trade.
Yes,
right?
fair.
Instead of just this.
Mac Jones. Mac Jones is not the quarterback that you want to stop on. If you spin that wheel of quarterbacks, Mac Jones is not the guy that you want.
Yeah,
that's if your roster is just a barren wasteland, so you're adding value at all cost, I get it. Just get the 3 things that you can trade as 3 firsts and move on. But you're outside of that, I think that's a better move. Putting all of it together, we get the right answer. You see, we merge into one fantasy mind. Jesse Riddle.
Look at that nuance. No nuance.
The enthusiasm. Jesse Riddle. Also, I hope you dudes are well. I'm fine. Thank you very much. Are you guys well? Yes, they are also
I'm starting to lose my hair, but other than that, I'm good.
I'm sad to hear that, Zach.
Wait, hold on. Let's just
dropped in.
Grab some over there and...
Thank you for stopping by to send a quick question. Really appreciate it. Jesse, hope you listen to it later, I guess. He sounds like he was leaving. Jerry Judy, 2023, mid to late first.
Wait. Is this Jerry Judy asking this question? We don't have a last name.
True.
Jerry Judy. The answer's Jerry Judy, just in case.
He wasn't the guy that was slandering Locke and Bridgewater, was he, before? Because this could be Jerry Judy.
That's awkward.
I think Jerry Judy plus 1 random 23 first is kind of even, so I'll take the player who could score points this year. It's a rough rule.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Really truther, because then he has a better chance of increasing his value sooner. That's why. Really truther, if you were a contender team last season, hope to repeat 2022, what are you doing with IR guys like Godwin, Gallup, Ridley? Maybe. Besides the value drop, just hold and pray for late season return push.
If you were a contending team while having Gallup and Ridley pretty much on your bench already, why not just keep holding on to them? Godwin's a little different because he was scoring you points most of the season. But if we're talking, Ridley truther, man, I know we both have Ridley on most of our teams. There's no reason to trade him away right now. You might as well.
I would look to trade him. I would still look to trade him because if you're already winning and these guys could go either way, I'm assuming if you're a contender, you have a lot of points, not necessarily as much value. I'd be okay, but you don't have to sell below market value. That's to Russ's point. You don't just trade him, but I'd be.
That's it. You have Ridley on your team. You can set the price. Yes. You can send out offers to other teams, and if they come back with a rebuttal, you just say, "No, I'm good.
Nope.
That was my price." But if you get Calvin Ridley value for Calvin
first
Ridley,
round pick. If you get a first round pick for Calvin Ridley, then I think it's interesting right now. But you can set your own line. That's what Zach's saying.
I hate when Zach does that to me. He's like, "No, this is the price I'm willing to sell at." No, talk to me, Zach.
That's how I like the
dialogue.
The negotiation and trade doesn't really appeal to me. I know what I want, and if you're willing to do that, awesome. If you're not, that's fine because I have players on my team because I like the players on my that's how I draft. I don't have very many players on my team that I don't really want. And so that's how it was. I've been watching Kane Fassel.
I was going to bring him up when
he's on this crusade to end bad trade conversations and bad trading, and I love it. But he had one today, and somebody commented that it was somebody sent a bad offer, and they said, "Well, I'm just sending this to start the conversation," and I said, "Well, I'm just rejecting this to end the conversation."
I love when Kane does this stuff because I always throw just at me next time, Kane. Come on. I think today's was send better first offers. And my reply to him was, it was 4 things. It was just at me next time. You send me a better offer, or why don't you counter? That was my best offer. I couldn't decide which of these to say, so I'm just saying all of them.
Just traded Carr for Mike Williams and the 2022 208 223 seconds. Superflex, what do you think?
That's
As
fantastic.
as long as Carr was not not one of your top 2 quarterbacks, so you're feeling good
I
about
don't
it.
care. Even if that's my QB2, getting
I
Williams
don't-
to 108 in 2 seconds.
Yeah, but
Like,
I don't think you're getting back Carr production from any and again, I don't this is a good trade.
But this is why quarterbacks are valuable. You
Yeah.
can't find Carr's production for a single first. You just don't
Right.
find it. So
now,
Mike
no.
Williams is
This
probably
season
dead
might be.
now, probably, and the seconds trade
Yeah, but
assets.
that's the
maybe.
definition of not caring about your lineup right now and just trading for value. The value is, to me, is easily on the other side.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Russ. You were just saying value, Smaru, and
but
I'll second that here because I am not a strong trader. I know I'm not going to be able to turn that stuff into better stuff.
The problem is what we just talked about, where the easiest and cheapest you're ever going to get quarterback is startup draft, rookie draft. Well, if you trade away Derek Carr now, and you only have one quarterback, and again, I'm making assumptions. I don't know Nico's team. Like this is if Carr is your QB3, or if your team is solid enough that shrug at quarterback and you can flex somebody else and not lose anything from Derek Carr, fine. This is great. Mike Williams could his value could jump if he re-signs in LA. I think his value goes up, which is mind-blowing, but everyone has kind of written him off as gone.
I don't know. I think he's too old to receive those kind of bumps. Dynasty players
I don't think so.
are really set in that.
He's not going to be like a second-round startup pick, but it'll go up.
People are really excited about what they saw at the beginning of last year from Mike Williams. The first 6 or 7 weeks of Mike Williams were tremendous last year. I don't buy
it. As we know, the first 6 weeks of your 4th season always predict the rest of your career, so that's fair.
Peter, I can make so many excuses.
I'm not saying you are. I'm putting it in perspective for Nico here.
I'm caring about trading him. Mike Williams is a definite trade, but I think that there is a very big contingent of people who are Mike Williams truthers.
I'm just saying I always use the first 6 weeks of their 5th year. That's how I roll.
Real quick, before we move on, real quick.
All right.
You think you could turn the 108 in one of those seconds into Kirk Cousins? I think that's easy. I think that gets done.
Oh, if you do that, then this is easily the Mike Williams side.
So, exactly, Derek Carr for Mike Williams, Kirk Cousins in a second?
Yeah. I normally end up making my draft picks. I'm just going to outright say it, Russ. That's what being a weak trader feels like. I try to do these things, and then I end up making the damn
2
picks.
seconds?
So I'm not even getting Malik freaking Willis out of this trade.
Hey, you could have gotten Justin Herbert at the 108. This is Mike Williams, Justin Herbert in 2 seconds.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm in.
You better hope Kenny Pickett is real
I really
good.
hope that
right
conveyed the sarcasm, and no one thinks I was serious.
Sam Howell for life.
That's not how I'm going to clip it. Ridley Truther, realizing a lot of my teams have at least one, if not both. Good job, Ridley Truther.
Oh, that's Gallup and Ridley.
Gallup, Godwin, and Ridley.
Sorry, I don't remember things from 5 minutes ago. I apologize.
Peter the Goldfish. Hey, we're back.
That is actually incorrect. Goldfishes have very good memories.
It's true.
Well, then
not as good as octopus, but whatever.
It could be worth drafting, but I
don't have a lot of. They're scary.
Dynasty HPPR half point.
That really freaked me out for a second.
That was clever. That was clever. I like that. And most people type the 1 and the 2, and that's a waste of characters. Now you say it. Superflex X tight end premium. Would you move Tyreek Hill for Juju and a 23 first? Team is basically in rebuild. No, that's too low. But I don't mind the start. That's an interesting builder trade. That's an interesting one to counter.
Tyreek's trade value has died for no reason.
Really? Oh, I did not know. Oh, okay.
In the very few leagues I have him, I can't move him for the life of me. I haven't. Trade Addicts 1, I was trying to blow my team up, and the best offer I could get for him was my 23 first back for Tyreek Hill and a third. The guy wanted on top of Tyreek Hill to get a 23 first.
Wow. In which case, this is probably a pretty decent trade on today's market. But
I
think
also like Juju. Well,
I like
Juju more
I
than
like him a lot.
most. So to me, I'm actually pretty good with that value.
right.
It seems like not a lot, but I think it's not bad in reality.
I'm going to defer to Russ on this one. He tends to know what you can get for players better in leagues right now. So, yeah, there you go. Joe Herbert, crab cakes greater than cupcakes. Oh, yeah, I said I ate a cupcake. I disagree.
Greatly disagree.
Not as good with frosting.
I was going to say.
I would like crab cakes better if they had frosting.
Actually, to be honest, I'd probably rather eat crab cakes. I'm not a big sweets guy, but
I am not either, but I don't like
contrary. Bob Gilchrist. I've heard of him. Stop the startups. They have a heart. Anyone read here? Anyone read?
Stop the startups. Have a heart.
Have a heart.
Adopt an orphan team.
There you go. Actually, I love adopting orphan teams. Because then it's not my fault. I can suck for years and be like, man, the guy originally built this team, put me in a pickle.
I don't want an orphan team because people don't build the way I do, and I don't enjoy trading. And so it's just like I have to wait for 6 rookie drafts to have a good team, and I don't want to do that.
I would much rather have someone else draft my team for me and then let me take it over after that.
All right, we got a deal.
Adopting orphans can be a tall task, but the good ones the goodwill goes a long way. Matt Tom, I don't. It sounds right, but like I don't.
They're still playing on the fact of the word orphan.
Oh,
please, sir, may I have some more?
It's too clever for me. Leagues. Sorry, Matt Tom. Mike Thomas, 2022 109.
James Conner.
James Conner all day, obviously. Why?
That is so easily T. Higgins for me.
Why is... Yes, T. Higgins. I give up. Why is everyone asking about Jacob? This is like some sort of epic troll of this one.
Yeah, someone is. They're
very obscure streamer. Like, we're just going to ask him about James Conner until he dies, until he leaves. Anyway, Zach, it's
Boutte. Keyshawn Boutte.
Yes, it is actually Boutte.
Yeah, I don't think many people have hope I'm going to be able to say very normal and correct names properly. Like, I struggle, and that's not the name's fault. That's fine. Lefty is laughing. I agree. Happy to be back with you all again this week. Looking forward to the NFL Combine to cut down the amount of slander this class is getting. Everyone wants studs, but quality depth helps win titles.
No, that is
Dave and
false.
Sports Cards. Couldn't care less about the Combine, and I think while this class is overly maligned, I think there's less ceiling here. But then again, there could be a couple players with the most ceiling. So, yeah, kind of split the baby on that.
How many players, Zach, do you feel will get a big swing from the combine? Like, there's usually, like, I know there's always like
there's
one
a
or
John
two players
Ross in here, and there's a.
I need to see what he runs. I need to see what his burst score is going to be. Is there any players that you think? Now, I know it's just a factor until we get to draft capital. I know
Garrett Wilson, I think, is going to impress specifically in like cone draws and stuff and elite burst scores. And I think a lot of people are going to run with that because a lot of people really like him. And I think that's fair. I think his production's good. So I don't care. But I think he could, get wide receiver 1 buzz.
Yeah, Wilson, Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
The
Tyler
maybe. If
he did something special, he could really rise.
Beatty is interesting because you look at his production and you're like, wow. And then you look at him and you're like,
yeah,
really? Like,
but if he turns out to be like a champion squat lifter or something, then that really, you know what I mean?
James Cook is another one that I think could end up boosting his overall because he was again at Georgia and was kind of a secondary piece next to Zamir White. But if you see him test really well, that could be somebody. I also think that potentially Jerome Ford's draft stock increases because I think he's going to run quicker than he looks on tape. And I don't think he looks very fast on tape, But I also think you're going to have people that drop too. So it's
The combine.
Yeah, it should, and
If it goes on, here's the thing: it's like the Senior Bowl for me at this point. It's teams get a chance to get their hands on,
absolutely,
probably literally, and that does have influence. They're going to learn a lot more about how well they work with him. If they're going to be a good fit, they're going to see the move in person, and those interviews are important. If all that happens, I think it's really important to a lot of players, and so I think that's a fair point. And I do I am siding with this class is getting a little maligned. But it's for reasons, but it is getting a little maligned. Bob Gilchrist says he's going to fly to Kentucky, then decide if he goes to Canton. And please tell me this is not how far behind we are in the comments.
That is how far behind we are in the comments.
We're only 45 minutes now. We were half an hour.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. We're 2 hours in, just getting to like the 7th comment. It's fine. Randy, I ran into Hall of Fame players all the time in the 2020 Tap House. Okay. Morton Anderson and Truth Thomas were hanging with me and my buddy during the pro draft.
I used to have Thurman Thomas poster on my wall as a kid.
Was really good.
The Terminator. He forgot his helmet.
I love those 80s, 90s posters with the nicknames.
Yep.
So good.
I live 20 minutes from Canton. Peter, you can crash with me. That sounds awesome, Randy. Actually, yeah. I just signed up to live in a random person's house for a little while. That's cool. Really, Truth, Peter, I don't want to burden anyone like that. It's fine. I can afford a sleeping bag. There are streets in Canton. It's fine.
No, you don't want to sleep on the streets. We have floors.
Peter's going to end up being crowned King of the Expo. Yeah, and like
King of the Expo.
Sorry. Kevin, I feel like Justin Herbert is vaxxed. I just got a gut feeling. I don't know what that means at this point. Is vaxxed slang now for something, or does that mean he took his shot like a big?
I think
boy?
It really just means his shot.
Okay, I have no idea what's going on with that stuff anymore. I stopped listening. It's too stupid. How's it hanging, guys? 12-team Superflex PPR. I traded Mooney, Ayuk, and a late first for hopefully something good. Waddle, yeah! Win. And Nico Collins. Sell Nico Collins for whatever you can get, but you still won the trade.
Hold on to Nico Collins. They're going to trade. They're going to trade Cook. Someone has to catch the ball.
No, they don't.
Vacated targets.
No one needs to get the ball. Nico Collins is another one that turns up on my feed. I'm like, what are you people doing? This is a type of player I'm going to hear about in 3 years. Remember when we held out hope? No, I don't. I never did. I never fell for that. Listen to me once. Sorry. Like I know shit.
I wasn't sure he was laughing or crying. I got kind of worried for a second.
Jackson P. Herbert is vaccinated. Sure. I thought all NFL players had to be.
Nope.
I don't know. I don't care.
They don't have to be.
Is Burke still the 101 if he goes to the Browns, Eagles, or some similar team?
I don't. In the first round, yes.
I think taking the running back over Burks is a fine. You can take Hall over Burks. He's not a locked-in 101 because depending on the draft, if they both get decent draft capital, I think Hall's a running back who's going to score points too.
Yep.
And wide receivers don't produce as early, so Hall could easily produce earlier. So, yeah, he's still the wide receiver 101 is what I'm going to say. Is Lamar Jackson worth the 101, the 105, and a late 23 first? Yes.
I won't feel good about it. The answer is yes. I don't know if I have the wherewithal to send it.
I probably rather just keep Jackson.
I might not like. I might stick with the 101, 105 in the 23 first in this one, and not because Lamar Jackson's not worth that, but because I think that you're going to see Malik Willis drafted early. I think that you're going to see Malik Willis be exactly what, like Peter, when I'm evaluating quarterbacks now, I'm looking for rushing upside and first round draft capital. And Malik Willis is going to have both of those.
Yeah.
So you're going to end up with a top 12 quarterback plus the 105 plus a 23 first. I don't hate that.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
If your team's in strong rebuild, trading for picks makes sense.
Switch the 101 out and say, if I said to you, would you trade Lamar Jackson to get Jalen Hurts, the 105 and the 23 first? Would you do that?
What? Sorry,
instead of the 101, if I said Jalen Hurts, so Jalen Hurts, the 105 or 23 first, or Lamar Jackson, which
He's
you
been
take.
comping Malik to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
I
it's
think-
better. Yeah, I get it.
I think they're going to be. I think they're very similar and will be very similar value wise.
You know what? I'm just going to say it. Superflex ruins rookie drafts. I have to take worse players that I
Absolutely.
don't like over players that I do like. and I just
Superflex
hate
ruins
it.
quarterbacks.
So, screw Superflex rookie draft.
It's a artificial value of bad quarterbacks, which is fine because people like it's. It was.
Well-
It's like the
No,
Dude,
but I'm
it
going to
is.
fight you on this one because
No.
this is more having to do with running being for quarterback scoring than it does for Superflex in general. Because
Absolutely.
you're going to have that same argument with one QB, but it just take the picks out of it. Like you're arguing Jalen Hurts' upside because he can run so much, but if you got 0.5 instead of 0.05 instead of 0.01, no, hold on. If you got half the points for QB rushing yards than you did for regular rushing yards,
right,
like we wouldn't be talking about Hurts being good at all.
right.
So like I think that's the bigger argument than it is having to do with Superflex.
I think they're two different arguments and they're both broken. But that's fine. Like people enjoy Superflex, and I'm not anti Superflex, but I also think that you're creating artificial value and then pretending like you're just like, oh, we score more, but it's like you're making Baker Mayfield valuable, which
But I
in
think
reality,
we've
Baker
gotten-
Mayfield is not.
But I think we've gotten past the point. Like for the longest time, I subscribed to Hoag's idea of a starting quarterback is worth a first. I don't think that's right anymore.
I got a first for Derek Carr 2 years ago, whatever it was. Like you can
He has
still do
shown the
that.
upside to be worth a first. Baker Mayfield, I don't think you can get a first for him right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like that draft, we're in like the 7th or 8th round. He hasn't been drafted yet.
Yeah.
Like so I think we're righting the ship a little bit. Like yes, bad quarterbacks are going to be worth something as long as they start, and it's going to make them more valuable than their other positions equivalents because it's super flex. But I don't think it's as bad as it once was. Just let me have this and move on.
Travis Kelce, Elijah Moore, Josh Jacobs, or Darren Waller, CEH, the 105 and the 206.
I take Kelce side.
Elijah and Jacobs. Very
Elijah
easily.
Moore, hot.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, hot value. Josh Jacobs, hot value. Darren Moore. I'm just taking that side. I'm Josh Jacobs and Travis Kelce and Elijah Moore. Sounds pretty lit to me.
Yeah, especially
Especially
half
a 10 team.
PPR. Well, half PPR too. So
Ooh,
like
yeah.
CEH's value is meh because most of what he like the reason why we liked him was because he was a pass catcher. So-
Also,
and you're not sad
And
that Josh
team I
Jacobs
care
doesn't
most
catch a lot of
about the
balls.
stud, and the stud in this is Kelce.
Kelce,
I don't care.
yeah.
Kelsey's the stud. Yeah, it's awesome. How many books do you have behind you? I don't know. Haven't counted. That's what happens when you combine two readers. Like the only thing I brought over from England was I paid to have box after box of books shipped, and then I got here and was like, man, I should have sent food or clothes or something because we're poor. And instead, we just read a lot, so we keep reading a lot. And my wife, how do I say that real quick? My
Think
wife
very
reads
carefully.
real fast to the point that I feel like I'm a slow idiot, and I am, but like I don't normally feel like it. But so
I'm
most
such
of
a
them are
slow
my
reader.
wife's. And this bookcase, that bookcase, or one around the corner is the question I'll ask. But I'm gonna guess around 10 books. Jesse Riddle left my ass off. Probably
Okay.
shouldn't have said that out loud. That made me so happy you guys said it was a weird trade. Tyler and Cal seemed a little caught off guard. I love making obscure trades like that. Well, we love you for it. I was on the side receiving Kyler.
So you won the weird trade.
I will say though, like I read on a Kindle, and it makes me sad not to be able to do what you have behind you.
I was actually thinking that, like, so much more. Like, I don't get to read nearly as much as I want, and my wife's all about reading on the phone and a tablet and the Kindle. So we don't even collect books anymore, and it kind of sucks.
I used to read on my phone, but it hurt my eyes too much. The Kindle Paperwhites are beautiful. They're wonderful.
See, I either
I know.
book or
Damn.
audiobook. and there's no.
I
can't
don't
try
like
that.
yet.
I don't like having a lot of stuff either, and that makes being a reader so much easier when you've got like the Library of Congress in your phone or whatever. Like, it's so much better. But books are just cool, man. I don't know.
Yes,
I'm not throwing them away. I threw the CDs and the DVDs away. I'm not throwing the books away. I don't know.
donate them.
Well, yeah, my wife forced me to donate them because she insists on spending extra time so that they can collect dust in a store. I get the idea, but no one wants them. Like, I don't want to be wasteful, but no one wants them. I just realized I sound like an ass. But there you go. 12 teams to flex PPR. I traded
Hold on,
Fields this week. I traded Fields this week for Deontay Johnson in the 108. In the Superflex, I actually don't mind that. I just scared about Fields. Yeah, Fields, a lot of upside there. Same day I traded the 108 and a late first for Lance. I hate you. I hate you so hard. Thoughts? This sounds West Coast Chiefer is an outhouse kind of a guy. Like, this is a trading to trade. He's making interesting decisions going for undervalued assets. Like, yeah.
So you traded Justin Fields for Trey Lance and Deontay Johnson, and that's a win.
Well, he also lost a first and a second,
I guess.
Well, he traded his 23 picks, and they weren't involved in the original.
Yeah, okay,
that's true. But he traded the 108. He got
I'm
first and a second.
Again, super small sample size. Lance went at 112 in the draft.
Yeah.
In the ADP draft.
He's going to go highly, and
he's gonna go highly.
And it's going to be interesting because he's going to be insulated unless he completely face plants. He's going to be insulated this year, so I like that.
Completely face. I think. I'm sure. I don't know. And you're going to talk about QB rushing, and it's all true. Here's the thing: he just has to not be Josh Allen, and everyone's going to be like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? I was promised Josh Allen, and he's not going." I don't think he's going to be Josh Allen.
I don't think he has to be Josh Allen.
I think he does. I think that's where the expectation is. I think that's why he's already a top 12 dynasty quarterback.
He's already a top 12 dynasty quarterback because
he is a top 12 dynasty quarterback
because of rushing. Like, but he's not a top. He's not a top 4 dynasty quarterback because that's Josh Allen.
That doesn't. I don't think you draft a guy top 12 like
Peter. This is what dynasty is now.
Production. That's what that is.
This is what dynasty is now. So, listen, you're talking about where you're gaining edges, and I agree with you 100% that that's where you gain the edge. But you also have to understand the reality of dynasty fantasy football now is you have to if you're going to get this guy, you have to push him up and assume that risk because that is how we're doing this. Baker Mayfield 3 years ago was quarterback 4. Carson Wentz was quarterback 1. This is how
didn't face plant, and yet
they both
kind of face planted.
They weren't face plants. They were produced. They're still in the league. They're still valuable as players. You were just talking about in Superflex having value.
That was
no one had started Baker value. Or Wentz in a 1 quarterback league.
But this is the thing where Trevor Lawrence. I mean, not Trevor Lawrence. Trey Lance is going to either start and run and be productive. I mean, like the 2 games he started, he was over 20 fantasy points just because he ran. He didn't even throw at all, but he ran a ton and was over 20 fantasy points. So
it's an area I know. I don't do the quarterback evaluations for a reason. I get it,
but you don't even have to do.
You're probably right.
Not even an evaluation. It's just he ran for 1,000 yards his last season. So if he is nothing as a thrower, he's still valuable. He's still a top 15 scorer. He is. And if he throws at a minimum NFL level, he's a top 10, 8.
But what's great for him is being in Shanahan's offense. He doesn't have to make risky throws.
No.
So he'll get credit for Kittle and Debo and Ayuk being great after the catch. That's like, but what day is today? Wednesday. Tomorrow, check out the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel where I talk about this because, I again, whether you believe Burrow is in that top tier or not, the top 5, top 6, whatever it is, they are all. Patrick Mahomes is the oldest at like 26 years old. It is almost impossible to break into that top tier at this point. Like, what would Lance have to do to break into that top 5? It's insane to think about it. So
Yeah,
to
it's
me,
insane. Like, it's the only where he can go in value, and yet he would have to get there to improve in value, and we're already paying for it, thinking if he does what we think he does, he might get to not that tier you're talking about. And we're already valuing him as far as he can be valued if he's not. That's
which is why
I'm not debating the value of rushing or the fact that he scored 20 points per game or the fact he can continue to do that. Top 24 quarterbacks average 20 points per game. He has to get to the 24 points per game threshold, which is that top tier. That's the only place he has left to go. We're already valuing him the only other place there is. There's nowhere else to go. And you're saying what he could do is where we're currently valuing him. You're saying that won't be disappointing? I think that would be disappointing.
So
I think that would be disappointing. I think if he pays off what we gambled he might be, I think that would be disappointing. But that's just guessing what people are going to feel on. And, shit, I don't know what people feel on about rain. So what would I know? I'm just saying. It just feels like there's more expectation than 20 points per game and being a top 12 quarterback. Because that's not difference making.
You're difference making to me, Peter.
Isn't that the floor though, Peter, of his points?
No,
that's
what you just said is the expectation, the hope.
No, I said he scored 20 points a game this year in games he started this year where he was awful.
But also he was an unknown quantity to the defense,
and he would have to be better than awful, which is also I think it would be disappointing if he did okay.
I mean, it's like the same reason Tebow didn't work out, because people realize he can't throw the ball. I'm not calling him Tebow. I apologize for that.
I mean,
but like
that was a little far, Russ. No one thinks that, okay? But
I said it out loud and felt bad immediately. But it's just like I think if he were okay, and here's the thing. I don't think I like Lance. I think he's good.
I don't know nothing about him, to be fair. This is completely just how I think.
I think it's ridiculous how.
Go look up his touchdown to interception rate. His last year.
I literally don't have anything bad to say about the player. It's not even about that. I hope he succeeds. I just think where our expectations are like to go up, he would have to hit that top tier, and I don't know how he does that.
But I don't.
No, but his value rocketed up.
Exactly.
Nothing changed.
That's what I mean.
Value went up. And there's nowhere else to go.
But you knew his value was going to go up. Like last year in the rookie drafts, you knew his value was going to go up. He went at 3 overall. And he's a great runner. He ran for 1,000 yards. He did not throw an interception his senior year or his junior year. Like he literally his touchdown to interception ratio is undefined.
Okay.
Like he is, again, the floor is that rushing. The ceiling is if he's a good thrower. So taking him at quarterback 12 is not a huge leap.
No. QB 12 is a
huge
great
leap. I'm not even saying that's a huge leap. I'm just saying the wheels could come off if he does that. I think people want more than that for paying this already. And so if he does that, it'll be disappointing and it'll be hard to get that value, especially to get more if we're talking about a value asset. Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine. I hope the player does great, to be honest. Oh, shit. Sorry.
Peter just wants to talk about books.
Can we just talk about books some more, please? I feel very out my element talking about quarterbacks.
Like one of the happiest moments of the Trade Addict show yesterday, was when Scott and I just stopped the show and started talking about Doctor Who for like 5 minutes.
I don't know anything about Doctor Who. That's a confession.
You're British. You're supposed to love
it.
I
know. I don't. I nothing did. I have never watched an episode. Tight end premium leagues accent the difference between elite groups at the position and everyone else. Yuck.
That's true.
Yes, it does. It is a little unfair for the people at the top, but it makes you feel not crap when you have to start the tight end 12.
but it makes me look really smart drafting two or three top 5 tight ends.
Oh, don't get I have Kelsey and Waller on one or two teams, and I don't feel bad about it. But in teams where you don't, and you're stuck starting, like I can't even think of the shit worth of names that were like you got to start. But sometimes Kelsey gets hurt, and what else are you supposed to do? And you have to start Chris Herndon. And okay, thankfully he gets you 6 points instead of 3. I mean, tight end sucks, so you're trying to help it out.
12-team Superflex PPR, pick a side. 104, 111, 201, 202,
Jesus,
102, or the 102. What?
This is just ridiculous. Sorry.
Oh, okay. 411, the 201, 202, or the 102 and a first from next year and a second and a third.
Give me the 102.
Too many things.
Next year.
Yeah.
102 in the pick next year.
Yep. No Nuance is a great fantasy team name. That's fair. I struggle with great fantasy team names. Most of mine are called.
We'll give you the logo.
Rate my trade. I still can't get it right. 4 bananas. Sticking with it. 12-team Superflex, 1 PPR rebuild. Derrick Henry and the 201 and the 203 for AJ Brown.
I'm not the biggest AJ Brown fan, and I still like that.
I'd rather have AJ Brown than that.
A minus because Derrick Henry's probably going to score points. But
but still.
Hit the like button, guys. Let's make Addison happy.
I live to make Addison happy.
I do not. Screw Addison, but like it anyway. Medical questions and high weight questions will be heavily impacted by Combine. Well, yeah, because that's where we find them out.
Yes.
But
yes, that is a very fair point.
Those aren't the questions I'm asking. So, yeah.
Well, it's when I mean, that's in relation to when I asked Zach if there was any player he felt he needed to get the athleticism measurements on.
Not many. The small school guys, man.
All right, but before you get on this, I am gonna fall asleep now, so I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Leave. Love you all.
Sorry, dude. See you later.
Mark, what are you sorry for? Don't be sorry.
Sorry, we kept you so late, and you have to go, and I don't get to see you anymore. That makes me sorry.
I'll still be here tomorrow. Don't worry.
See you, bud. All right, I'm going to try and get you out of here, Zach. Bob Gilchrist asks, where are you on Mitchie? And this face is all I got. I don't care. No interest.
He's fine. He's in the 10 to 12 range in this class. He's okay.
Sure.
He's a piece. If you really want to know, Bob,
I'm sure he could be a good NFL player, but I don't think he's fantasy relevant. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What do I know for being a good NFL player for real? If Willis is drafted early in the NFL draft, where would you rank him amongst T-Law, Trey Lance, Fields, Zach Wilson? That's a you question.
He's probably right behind Lance.
Okay, you still got some hope.
Lance Fields. Yeah, he's gonna be ahead of Wilson, probably ahead of Fields, but that's pretty close.
Where are you on Lawrence? Actually, that's probably the more direct question. Because he's the passer of the group.
That one's difficult because he had such a rough first year, and you've got the tumultuousness of we're changing regime and hoping that they can fix things around him while they rebuild at the same time. I like Lawrence as a player. I like Lawrence better in a situation that's not Jacksonville, but you can't extricate him from it. So that sucks. Again, I think with Willis, he might be behind Fields too. He's going to be right in that same tier as Jalen Hurts for me. He's a very similar a very similar player to me. I think he has a lot of work to do as a thrower. Every now and then you see flashes where he'll throw the ball down the sideline and drop it in between zone coverage between two defenders, the corner and the safety, and it is right on a dime. And then he'll have 3 throws where he doesn't close his front shoulder, and he'll throw the ball 6 feet over the defender, and it ends up in in the middle of coverage, and it's a pick. So, but he's got that rushing floor, which is huge. I mean, people talk about it's a high floor with that running. It really is, and it's high enough that he gets you above most everybody who doesn't run.
Thomas Pritchard, I found athletic speed score only matters for running backs. I found it only matters for tight ends, but I do find it interesting just for figuring out how players might fit into the NFL, especially at wide receiver and running back. But yeah, mostly as far as it matters for tight end outside of that pass. I've never seen good athletic variance. Variable. No, there are none. That's why. I mean, like say for tight end, height adjusted, weight adjusted, speed score are interesting. Even Sparks have some interest, but not.
That's the one position where it really athleticism really tells us something about them as a player.
As far as them doing it in the NFL, especially.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Outside of that, it's what are they doing?
The small school guys. I do want to see athleticism just because if you're playing against Southwestern East North Dakota State A&M and you're looking like you're great, I want to know that you have the requisite athleticism to play in the NFL. It was the James Robinson. James Robinson went, tested well, and we're like, oh, okay, James Robinson's good. We like it. So,
Josh Jacobs, Michael Carter, and Rondell Stevenson. I'll take Jacobs. Pretty easy. In my opinion, please tell me if I'm wrong. There's no wrong when it comes to opinions, but there's ours to consider alongside your own, I guess.
It's easy to get caught up in the athleticism and the combine and
it's so fun as well. Starving to see these players, and then they get out there and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Easy to get caught up in.
The NFL tells us though what they think about all that when they draft players. So don't double count it. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, he's athletic," and then the NFL says, "Oh, he's athletic," and now you have Henry Ruggs as your wide receiver too. Like, don't do that.
Exactly. Ryan, Thurman Thomas is a sneaky shot.
I think he's sneaky short.
Short. That's probably true. I don't even know who he is off the top of my head. Sorry.
He's a running back for the Bills back in the 90s. Forget his helmet. Forget his helmet at the Super Bowl. The first series, he couldn't find his helmet, so they were like, "Well, we can't run."
Thomas Pritchard for wide receivers. I've never seen a combine metric. Haven't seen one that matters for anything outside of tight end, and then it's debatable which.
I do like 3-cone for the guys that are inside, but you can also see that on tape, the change of direction and creating separation. So it's kind of a redundant, but it's nice to look at like Cooper Kupp and Jarvis Landry and look at their 3-cone and go, oh, yeah, see, they do that.
And again, it's kind of something that's counted into their draft capital.
Absolutely.
Kyle Bannon, good name. Drake wide receiver 1, in my opinion.
Negative. Drake London.
What? Oh, someone I want to move up actually, but I like him a lot. But no on the wide receiver 1 conversation. Draft could change a lot. I like him a lot, but he's
5 or 6. I think he's going to be drafted highly, Peter. I do, but he's still 5 or 6 for
that
me.
Would help
everyone keeps comping him to Mike Evans, and
it's that style of player. But
they cite the contested catch rate, and in the back of my mind, I have the little PFF graphic that says that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside led all receivers in contested catch rate and contested catches, and he's not Whiteside.
He's not Whiteside.
He does more than Whiteside,
but
a lot of how he wins is that really quarterback dependent. You need a quarterback to throw the ball before you see him open, and that makes me nervous. And again, I've got him at wide receiver 5 or 6, which for me, with that type of player, is a pretty high compliment. But I can't move him. Hey, Joe.
Hey guys, great show. Been here the whole time. Just stay busy. Just busy right now. No problem. Really appreciate letting you know that you're around. We thought we'd schedule you off last time. Struck gold twice. Thoughts on Deontay and DK next season? Top 12 wide receivers for me. In points, to be clear. And
yeah, I think you'll be fine.
No, I was just wondering, is Deontay in the top 12 in ADP? I think he still probably is.
Right on the cusp.
DK definitely is. He's young and looks great with his shirt off. So
I
honestly, do I need to find a wide receiver, or will they? No, you're good.
I like DK is a potential trade for me.
Yeah.
Because I think people value him higher than I do, and in the event that Russell Wilson isn't there, that is going to be a big change for DK Metcalf because Russell Wilson throws the best deep ball in the NFL. I don't care who you cite. I don't care I don't care if you're Josh Allen guy. I don't care if you're like Los Angeles, the Chargers. Like, I don't care Herbert. Like, Russell Wilson throws the best deep ball in the NFL, and DK Metcalf is real good at going and getting it, and that's a great pair.
My dynasty life is weird. Like, I've been lower than on DK than everyone else for so long that now everyone's worried about Wilson. Finally, I'm like, oh, I'm on par with you guys. Thanks. Oh, great. So, like, I get it, but also you've just kind of like, it was expensive Tyler Lockett, and he's continued to be expensive Tyler Lockett. So we should come down a little bit.
If you can flip DK for somebody who is better than expensive Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I've already been there. I've done been out there doing that, so I don't have much DK. So, like, right now, being low on him would just be... I'm probably more in line with the market than I have been for a while. So, while I agree with everything you just said, I'm actually closer to the same as most people right now. So, you're definitely right. Yeah, there's a concern there. Can he do more things? Do you have an opinion on that? Like, you watch, so I really don't. Can he do more than the deep ball thing?
Yeah, I mean, like he has, and he's shown that with what he's done.
That's what I'd say
in Seattle. Like, he's
produced other ways.
The mean version of DK Metcalf is he can only run 9 routes. He's better than that, and he's done more. But he's never going to be the create separation in short areas guy. Like, he's never going to drive 100 target. I mean, like 100 catches. Like, he's never gonna do that.
So, struck gold twice. That's what I'd say. I think you're fine. You should not panic trade either of them, but you can explore. DK's got more value, and he should do. You can explore trades, but I wouldn't panic trade him on that. Panic trade for wide receivers. Just anything like that. West Coast Chief, in regards to Lamar Jackson on the 3 firsts, I have Herbert, Lance, Chase, Pitts as my core on a rebuild 1 year out. Next season, drafting running backs to compete. Seems solid. Books forever. The plans to ever swap to electronic source. I would say I get it. Like I say, I love packing light. I like having everything in a backpack instead of like having to carry a big, heavy fucking book bag, which I've done most times.
I do dig my audiobooks, but if I'm sitting down to read, I am physical paper. But like, I got a creative writing degree. I got to support everybody who actually made it, as opposed to me.
Hell yes. I didn't even get the degree. I just dreamed one day, maybe. So, and no. I grind, guys. You certainly do, my man. Really true. The people are more intrigued to it. But yeah, I think there's an unknown bump there. And Shanahan bump.
But I don't think there's that much known with Lawrence, though. Like, eventually you forget. No, do you think that? I mean,
no, I agree.
Like, Lawrence did not have a good year this year. He's still on that same team.
I would say the fact it's more the situation than I don't think the player did anything to make me think he's any less good. But he's still in the same place, so it's hard to really say you're higher. Like, I have hopes, I have dreams, you know. But Joe, I think that's what he meant. Nico, just to clarify in the car trade, I do already have Wilson, Watson, Jimmy G, and Mariota. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's the list of players you said. FF Lefty, to be fair, I streamed Wentz a handful of times in a redraft league, and I won last season. Good job, man. I think Wentz is slightly undervalued. He's in that tier of he can put up numbers. I actually prefer him staying on the Colts. I know there's been rumors of him leaving, but I trust how well managed that team is. I'd rather him be on a team like that. Trey Lance, CeeDee Lamb are the captains of the Team Blue Sky.
I much prefer CeeDee Lamb. If I were going to make a bet on who was going to be good, it's going to be CeeDee Lamb rather than
CeeDee Lamb for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but I think that was 2 weeks ago. Was the big Twitter conversation was CeeDee Lamb shouldn't be a top whatever wide receiver, and I'm like,
oh, screw them.
He's real good. Like he's real good.
I don't know what to say. He's real good. 12 team Superflex for PPR. A team manager is contemplating my offer of Jimmy G, Elijah Mitchell, Dawson Knox, and the 23 second, and for the 103 in Hawkinson. Am I overpaying?
No,
that's fine.
I would do that. 103 in Hawkinson. Whatever. I mean, you're basically it's Elijah
fair.
Mitchell for the 103.
It's fair. I think Jimmy G is a little underrated, but yeah, it's fair. That's why you're having second thoughts about pulling it. I'd let it ride, see what they say. Jackson P. If Lance becomes Tebow, the 49ers win next 5 Super Bowl. Probably. I don't know.
No, Tebow's terrible.
I just dropped a deuce for the Guinness book. Cool. The world record book, I'm assuming it's fun deuce reading, if that's any help. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Jackson P, tight end premium. Well, Herndon gets you an extra 2 points. Your opponent tight ends gets an extra. That's the thing. It all adjusts up, and it's what Russ doesn't want to argue about, so I just leave it. Way to go, Bob, to make Outhouse fall asleep. Yeah, we'll blame Bob, actually. That's cool. Night, guys, watching the rest at work today. Thanks for making my Wednesday a little less crappy. Thanks, man. Back to you. That's a really nice thing to say. John O2, are you...
Wilson.
There you go. I'm not going to try and read it if you've already got the answer.
I mean, Wilson or Olave? Who are you on?
Wilson. Joe Herbert, the 3-cone and the 10-yard split for the 40-yard dash sum up quickness very well. Yeah, I love the descriptive element of combine stats. I like knowing what roles they fit and knowing what the frick they are. But it just doesn't adjust what I think of their likelihood of hitting. That's it.
Right.
And the draft's going to account for how much I should. Thomas Pritchard, I guess for tight ends and speed score, I'm more interested trying to separate out the Noah Fant, Hunter Henry profiles from the folks who become Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews. Good luck with that. Yeah, tight ends matter. Thanks, guys. I always look forward to the show. Thanks, Tim. That's really nice things to say. We look forward to it too, believe it or not, as much as I like fighting with them. Tariq, do you all agree with the general sentiment that rookie class is deep? No, I don't. Even if it doesn't have top-end talent. No, I don't think that's what's going on this year. I think there's going to be fewer hits. I think it's overrated how few hits are going to be. Like, I expect, and I've put a number on it just because it comes from past examples. Like, it could be more, it could be less. This class isn't other classes. But we have never seen less than 9 players have 2 fantasy relevant seasons from any single draft class. So I expect at least that over the next 4 years. So that's not a small number. That's not 9 players is not a small number, but some of them are going to be David Johnson, some are going to be James Robinson, some are going to be George Kittle being undrafted and stuff. So the draft is difficult because guessing who they're going to be is harder. They're tighter together this year in evaluation, and I think that's where the sentiment comes from. So it's not about how many or the floor or the ceiling. It's about the difficulty of finding out which ones they're going to be. But yeah, ultimately I think there's going to be less, but still a significant number. There's going to be dynasty must-haves in this class.
When you say 9, are you including quarterback and tight end, or
yes.
is that 9?
Yes.
So okay,
all 4 positions.
So does the fact that this is not a very good quarterback class factor in? Like,
I don't. No, but it's a real good point. I've just been reading that generically, so.
Well, no, it was just a question, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but it's
No, you're good.
interesting to me that 9 includes quarterbacks, where most every year you see a couple of quarterbacks become fantasy relevant top 24.
That's interesting. Actually, it's like the few classes I'm looking at: 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015. They all had 9 hits. Only 1 or 0 quarterbacks hit from those classes.
Okay, so we're in that range. We're in that window.
Yeah, interesting point. Have a nice slumber, guys. Got to go make some more offers. I appreciate you, man. Walker or Hall, and why? Hall, because he catches the ball. It's not that Walker is incapable of it. He's an incredible athlete. I'm sure he could. As me and Zach are both prone to say on this issue, it's about whether a team is going to ask you to do it. They're going to watch Walker tape and go, that guy runs the ball real good, and plan to make him run the ball real good. They may build that into his requests in the NFL, but the expectation is that it's less likely that happens than he just goes and runs the ball real good, because that's what tends to happen in the NFL. And because we play fantasy and not manage NFL teams, that matters for us in terms of points. Hall is more likely to be a 3-down back, more likely to have a 53% co-option of the opportunities, and be a top 12 scorer, because unless you're Derrick Henry being a top 12 scorer when you just run the ball real good, not because you can't do other stuff, but because you're not asked to, you have to be Derrick Henry, especially in this NFL. And it's a smaller target to hit. Could he do it? Sure, he's really good at it. But I think the chances are lower. So I lean Hall.
63. That's how many more receptions Hall had than Walker. And what you said is absolutely right. And I also think people are going to be surprised by how athletic and how actually good Breece Hall is as a runner too, because I think he gets pigeonholed as, oh, he's David Montgomery because he wore the same laundry, and people are always looking for ways to tear down that. Walker's the best runner in this class. Hall is the best fantasy running back in this class.
That's fair. West Coast Chief also says Matt Wilbon just did a breakdown on Hall. I haven't seen it, but that would be fun to watch. I like reading Zach's film notes before I go look at other film graders. You can check them out. Where, Zach? Are they anywhere?
I haven't put the film notes anywhere. They're on my phone. If you want to steal my phone, they're in my Google Notes. I got about.
You've put them on Patreon a time or two, though, haven't you? So we can read. I seem to remember seeing.
I usually just drop them on my Twitter feed.
Okay. They're great notes. Point. I like reading
them. And I'll do that. I'll do that at some point. Probably in the next couple of weeks. I'll do my top 12 list of running backs, my top 12 list of wide receivers, and then I'll drop my film notes as I kind of go along. But yeah, Waldman is fantastic. He's better at that. I mean, he gets paid, man. He's better at this than I am. So
we all know Waldman's pretty good. But yeah, I look forward to watching that video too. What was I going to say? The only other thing I'd say about this running back class is I think there's some signal, and I watch players, but I'm not evaluating. You catch things, and I haven't ground tape. But there are some signals in some of the way their production. I think Spiller might be the more natural receiver. Like he has a more natural inclination towards that role. But again, it's not like any of these guys can't do this. I can catch a ball. I believe all of these guys can do everything athletically better than me. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. Spiller might be more natural receiver. He might be showing more talent if you watch the tape. I don't know. I just know that Hall has some much easily comparable profile to other top 12 running backs. Spiller's close, but it has some more questions. And Walker, it's a receiving thing. That's it. No problem, man. Jeremy Clark, Matt Waldman had Trey Sermon as running back 1 last year. Well, we all make mistakes. But also that's some of the reasons that I was okay and didn't harp on about Sermon being that late round running back no one should take, because some people who are very good at this saw good things. And I thought that was interesting. And I'm okay still listening to people who get ones wrong, because I have a lot. I have a lot of misses in my past, but fair point. John O2, are any of you concerned that Debo's new role will limit his receptions? No, I think his role includes receptions fairly fairly well. But yeah, I mean, speaking of videos you randomly caught on Twitter, I saw someone post a Percy Harvin highlight reel and say that's what Debo was. I guess that's the best comparison, but I don't think it's Percy Harvin. I'm really struck by how much we have these archetypes in our heads that don't exist, that are basically built around the conception of one player, and we think everyone has to fit that archetype. But just take 10 minutes, take an hour, go look at top 3 lists, your favorite top 3 players at any position over a certain period of years, and honestly ask yourself, these were the best 3 players in fantasy or real life through these 3 years. And honestly just ask yourself, how similar were they? How similar did they look? And if you don't come away thinking, wow, they didn't look or play anything like each other, I don't have any hats. But I mean, there are archetypes, but there are no archetypes. Like Debo does something different. Johnson and Tyreek Hill, really different players. So's Julio. Julio's got nothing like Calvin, really. But we group similar things about and say, look, there's more than one. No, they're incredibly different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the takeaway I would take from good players. Like I know you're not saying that, John, but that's what always, when people mention Debo's rushing or the reception limitation, just stop. What is Debo? Debo's an incredibly good player who scores points when healthy, like oodles of points, and just don't overthink it.
And the converse to that is
That's
everybody.
me.
The converse to that is everybody talking about who's going to be the next Debo because he's so different than everybody. There isn't another. Like, there's not another Debo. Like, there's not.
That's the thing. He's not in the next Harvin, but both had similar elements to the game. I get it.
Right.
Curtis Samuel, similar elements to the game, but even within that group, they're really different. Size, athleticism.
And everybody wants to take the comp out to the nth degree and make this player that player, and it just doesn't happen.
And I do it too. There is purpose to having comps and archetypes, but don't get it twisted. Not that you're doing that, John, but this is always what sticks in my head. I worry there are people out there and so they have to be this close to each other for them to do what Debo did. Not really. I mean, the next Debo could never run the ball. It's more about the way he produces or the career path he takes or some other element of his game. You know, the same player, Debo, on a different offense could have a very different role and not hit or hit in a different manner. He's just a really good player. That's what I think. Who would you target at the 106? I have no idea right now. So I'm just going to say
Joe hit this perfect with the next comment. The best player available. Like that's what you do. Like, we don't know yet. Take the guy you think is best at the time. It's probably going to be after the rookie draft. You're going to have way more information than we do now on February 24th.
Exactly.
That's Hawkinson because Hawkinson I will take over Freiermuth, and I'll take a first over a second. So I want that as many times as you can click accept.
You seem to be paying to go down. I don't. Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Debo will be Percy Harvin if his neck wasn't broken. I think I know what you mean. And I get the comparisons, and Percy Harvin was amazing as well. But you know what? It's stuff I said before. You don't have to say one as the other, but I get it. And it also makes simplified things. Just don't let that simplified look get into your actual understanding. It's a simple way of expressing a complicated thing. Sorry, mixed. And that was Hawkinson plus a second. That makes more sense. Hawkinson a second, or
I'd probably rather have the first.
See how that switches. I don't disagree. Neither, Kelsey.
Yeah.
So you can take the higher pick. I agree. There is one Debo, and I hate people want Waddle to be Debo. Yeah, that's the kind of thing it's where we trying to force players into this bucket, and there's no need for the bucket. There's no need for the bucket.
The cool thing to me about Waddle, though, is so we saw him be wide receiver 14, both overall and in points per game this past year, basically as a slot receiver, basically on short and intermediate throws. You have seen Jalen Waddle in college be very good down the field. So to me, there is potential growth to Waddle's game. Not Debo growth, not doing what Debo does, but there is growth vertically down the field, which is so like that's why Waddle is still a buy to me. People are still undervaluing Jalen Waddle, who just finished as a wide receiver 14, who's 23 years old. And I didn't expect people to undervalue him, but they still are.
Freak also agrees it's Smoothen the first. I think that's fairly easy. Derpson, probably the last one we're going to get to tonight, guys. I got to get Zach to bed. 2 QB, 10 team. Matt Stafford plus Watt to get Lamar. 2 firsts. Which is why you normally just stick with the older quarterback.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. John's agreeing that there's potentially more to unlock with, and I love the point. And I think Waddle is definitely great. I think his production compares better to Chase than it does any of the other rookies, and I think that's underrated. I also think, just put a little asterisk on it. I'm not hoping Miami develops much. NFL teams aren't developmental. They're not looking to get the most. They want to use Waddle a certain way.
It's interesting that Deontay Johnson was the comp to how Waddle was used, because Deontay Johnson in college was a downfield threat. Like, I expected Deontay Johnson to come in, be the outside receiver, leave Juju inside. It didn't happen that way, but that's what I expected to happen. So it's interesting. There's almost, with a new quarterback, depending on who the quarterback is, comes into Pittsburgh, there's potentially more on the bone with Deontay Johnson too, which is wild.
I think we underrate how often players change roles, to call it, just put a word on it, when they get to the NFL. Deontay Johnson's done it. I know the Golden one Tate. I always pull up is Golden Tate. He's pure outside, downfield X. Yeah. And has never done that in the NFL, but excelled at both. Good players who can switch. Impressive, but it doesn't mean they're suddenly going to do both.
Lockett did the same thing. Yep.
Similar to what we were saying about running backs. NFL doesn't draft running backs to turn them into something. They see what they do well, and they think, I can implement them to do that in my offense. And that's what. So, yeah, it's interesting that there are other assets of their game, but my answer with most NFL takes is just believe what the NFL's telling you. They tell you so little, honestly, and they can't lie really about usage and draft capital. Those are 2 times they can't tell you a story. This is actually how much they value players. This is actually how they want to use players. Like with DeAndre Swift, hoping his role will change. I get it. Or his overall share of the offense, but the team's probably telling you what they want him to be on their offense. Good players or bad players around him or not. Not that that's his ceiling. That's why I'm constantly saying I'm not telling you how good they are, or talent evaluating, or saying this is a problem with what they're incapable of. I don't know that stuff. I didn't even play college football. Go ask Ray GQ. I don't know shit because I don't play football. I do know teams typically tell you how they want to use players fairly quickly, and we are slow to accept it because we keep seeing ceilings and flaws around what they're doing. And most of the time, it doesn't work out. So I find an advantage in just accepting that sometimes, if you know what I mean. But appreciate you all talking to us. I really do. Every Wednesday, 9:30. Russ sticks with us as long as he can. Zach, because he loves me, just sticks in until the end, even though he's very tired, guys. He's got a full professional career, a great family he's taken great care of, and we really appreciate him for sticking through. Anything else you want to talk about or mention before we get out of here, Zach? Are we forgetting anything?
No, I think I
always feel like there's something.
We just hit everything. Look over there.